Welcome back to the Whispers from the Shadow podcast. Today we actually have a special guest. I'm Super Jimmy.
I'm his pleasure.
And hi, I'm Irish. I'm also Irish, but we'll go with Irish to start with.
It's usually how we're going to refer to him as.
Yeah. So today, like we always do, we always like to extend out the question to our people that watch us and everything like that. It is today's topic is horror in video games. What makes them good? What tropes we like? What we dislike? Any and everything about horror in video games.
What makes a good one, so on and so forth. The usual. We start with like one, and then it like downward spirals from there because we can compare it to like 50 billion others.
Yeah.
I mean, the rambling is what makes it fun, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But then we get into like the disagreements, and that's the part that's always fun.
And that's what gives us the adventure.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be some disagreements from what we've briefly discussed in the warm-ups. So.
Do you want to start with that one?
No. I'm sure there's plenty of other things you can talk about.
There definitely is. I was gonna say because like for my thing is like I was like trying to go back to the beginning, like some of the first earlier ones with like Doom, Ghouls and Goblins. Like they were not like the horror games; they were still kid friendly, but like they had horror elements. And what brought us into like what was it like mid 90s when we got a lot more like PlayStation 1 games that had actual horror games, your Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Fear Effect. I think Clock Tower was Clock Tower on that or the Dreamcast? I can't remember.
I think it was on both, actually.
I don't remember, to be honest.
But like that's where we got like true, like I think visual and like psychological horror games. Because I what I loved about Silent Hill series is the grotesque, disfigured enemies.
Yeah, I like
that Japanese horror, because that's what like Fear Effect was very heavily with, and I loved that.
Honestly, what I thought was really funny is how like when the first Silent Hill that I played was the first time I got introduced to both Pyramid Head and the nurses, and like I spent like 30 minutes trying to get away from Pyramid Head, and then I got to an area where I seen the nurses, and I was just like, oh, they're scantily clad, and like my little teenage brain was just like, I wouldn't mind being stuck in this game.
Just for the nurses.
Yeah, there's a weird sense of like I should be really scared by X game, but for some reason this is weirdly erotic. Like you hate that part of your brain, but it's there. Like for example, I was only playing the Outlast trials recently that's only come out, and there's an entire level you can go into, and it's a orphanage, and it's supposed to be run by nuns. There's a load of all of these nun mannequins that are like scantily clad, and it's like weirdly sexy, and you're like, shouldn't really be anyway. But then you get closer, and then you realize like that they have like faces stapled onto them, and like they apparently have like real mutilated body parts of women taped or stapled onto them, and you're like, Now, if you're still aroused at that point, that's where like you run into the danger zone. But for the moment,
or you're just a fan of Rob Zombie and his Dark style.
Honestly, if Rob Zombie were to make a video game, I would play the shit out of it.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. I mean, he's guest starred in Twisted Metal, so I mean, he's down to do it.
He did. Yeah,
I'd be interested to see. I think his grindhouse visuals would probably translate quite well into a game.
I think so.
Fair. Because what was it? There was a game that I played. It wasn't Outlast and wasn't Outlast 2. This was a few years back before I even tried to get on any type of social media as a gamer. Can't remember what it was. It was after I played the first Amnesia, and I was like, man, this is like old school grindhouse horror versus like new school mechanics in video games, because it had like a hint system when you were in danger.
That's like early 10s, I want to say. I think.
Yeah. This was
like the games around then.
This was like 2017-ish, back when I was just primarily a console gamer, and I was like, I was just playing something on my PS4, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I started playing it, and I was just like, oh shit, this is a lot. But
I mean, like the first one I really, really remembered, like giving me nightmares, is still the very first Resident Evil, because the cinematic of the first zombie you encounter back in '96 was like fucking horrifying.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the first true horror game I ever played was either Silent Hill or Silent Hill 2. I don't really remember that far back, but that's what really got me into liking horror games, and I just started playing them after that, which got me into like what was the Suffering 1 and 2. I played the shit out of those games. Those were the first
Fair
games
enough.
I ever 100%ed.
I never really had an awful lot of horror games, because for me it was the PlayStation 2, and like for the majority of the lifespan of that was just ma'am, can you buy this game for me? Ma'am, can you get this?
Yeah, that's
so like anything that was a bit too scary or horror filled was like I wasn't allowed. I remember my friend gave me a loan of Evil Dead Fistful of Boomstick, and like I remember my mother like literally sat on the couch behind me watching me play it to see like whether or not like it would be suitable. It was not suitable, and I was made give it back to him the next day. So but in terms of like
Fistful of Boomstick,
kind of a horror game, not really a horror game, it's more sci-fi. It was Destroy All Humans. For me, that was like kind of one of the first real kind of horror games I can think of, like the idea of like aliens coming in, cloning people, abducting people, like the disintegrator. I remember like seeing like the person's skeleton before they fall into a pile. Yeah, things like that were kind of creepy, but it was never. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like any horror games I really played on PlayStation 2 at that time.
Clock Tower 3 is one that still stands out for me on the PlayStation 2.
Let's see, PlayStation 2 specifically, it was the Silent Hill game that I played, and I didn't have the memories. I didn't have the memory card, so I had to play through the entire game in one go. Otherwise, I couldn't save
until you got back from school.
I used to have to do that with Star Fox on N64, because I didn't have it was given, like the console was given to us by friends, and they never put in the memory card, so I'd have to play through all of Star Fox in one go. I got fucking very good at that game.
I think the last game I had to deal that with was when it was like my parents went on vacation or something like that. I was at a friend's house. I spent the summer with him, and I think it was Final Fantasy VIII. I forgot my memory card, so we played the entirety of Final Fantasy VIII without stopping, and that was a fucking fun journey.
Oh my god, that would be. What was it? I think it was not too long ago when I first played Alien Isolation, and I realized that there's a lot of old school horror game tropes in there, because you remember in the older games where it wouldn't like give you like a hint system. It would tell you what you had to find, and you had to spend that part of the game just trying to explore to find that one piece, or you couldn't leave that area.
Oh yeah.
I do, and I don't like it when horror games do that, for the simple fact that like my brain I'll get jump scared, forget what I'm supposed to be looking for, and then I'm just stuck in flight mode. I gotta escape, and then I die.
It's the anxiety of it, and that's what I love.
Well, I think that's where it really comes into a matter of like how well is the game designed, and if the area that you're in is for the most part like readable, and you can have like a general sense where you have to go, what you have to do, and the game doesn't really need to give you a whole here's a guideline, go find out, like kind of just like Alien Isolation. I think it works because there's something out there that creates that bit of tension. In terms of games that take away the player's ability to fight, I think Alien Isolation is a nice mix between you can fight certain enemies, but certain ones you just have to run away for or play it smart. And I think that keeps like a happy medium. You get some resource management in there. You get the stalking enemy that you can't defeat and you have to run from, but you do get those little moments of when do I fight back and when do I not.
Yeah, and I was saying you do get weapons later on. It's that reward system for doing so well without it, which I thought they handled that really well. Whereas like your Amnesias, Outlasts, and games like that you're unable to do anything against it. I like that mechanic, but I also, it really depends on the game situation. I feel like Outlast and Amnesia did it very, very well, but this is where Irish disagrees with me.
Yeah. No, look, dude, I've got like a whole spiel to go on here. So by all means, you say everything you want and I'll like chime in at the end.
All right, no worries. So, like, what I love about it is that because it forces you to explore, and you know something's after you. Like, for instance, in Amnesia, there are times where you can see the monster. There are times where you can't see the monster, and I like when you can both situations because then it keeps you on your edge where you have to move fast. The rinse and repeat to learn. It's like, and another way is like beating a boss over and over in Dark Souls or trying to and dying over and over, and you get that victory after the trial and error. That's what I love about it.
One thing I do real quick before Irish goes on to spiel. One thing that I did like about Amnesia was this. I'm a sucker for psychological horror. So like the scenes where like the monster would be coming towards you and you like got to the end of where you were supposed to go and then you couldn't go any further and then it would reach out to grab you and then just you're like, oh. That made me like that game.
I mean, like, I'll give it credit in the sense that it at least has like a built-in mechanic of like, oh, don't look at the monster; it's going to drain your sanity, so you have to hide without also looking. Now, like for me, again, that's still double-edged because it's nice and you have to manage your sanity, but at the same time, all it really is just like tacking on another mechanic of something you have to manage, and also like, don't look at the model, don't look at the character, don't look at the monster. I'm like, it's not that scary though. But it's like, ooh, but the game will penalize you for it.
No, I get it. I fully mechanically speaking, I see your problem with that. I do.
Yeah,
fair.
But in terms of overall, now by all means, jump in and cut me off because here I go. This is why you guys invited me.
Exactly.
But talking strictly about mechanics in a video game of what makes a good horror game, in my opinion, I think it is the ability to fight back. But it has to be whether it's either resource management or even if ammo is plentiful, I think it's about where you pick and choose your moments, because I don't think removing a player's ability to fight is what actually makes a game scary. I come at the mindset that it kind of makes it tedious. Now, I've played through all of Amnesia, Outlast 1 and 2, so I've gone through them. And I know that these games rely on atmosphere and like their gory visuals, which I'll admit in times are really well done, but that really only carries it so far.
Like that's why those aren't like really long games, because they know there's only so much you can do. It's not like it's trying to be a full like 12-hour playthrough that way, like Alien Isolation can take from that trial and error.
Well, Alien, I think it does better, but I'm sorry to say, but like at its core, Amnesia is a slog of fetch quests.
It is. No.
Yeah.
It really is.
And as soon as you notice that pattern, for me, the entire immersion breaks. And in my head, this is how I break it down. It's like, okay, I now need to get an item that's three rooms away. One of two things are going to happen on my way to get this item. One, the game's going to try and jump scare me with noises, or a book is going to fall, or a candle's going to blow up, fucking, whatever.
It's very scripted.
Yeah, a monster is going to be roaming. I need to avoid that monster or try to hide for them. And then depending on how well that monster can see, it may or may not see me. And a monster that didn't see me in one room can now see me in the, it kind of gets up in the air sometimes, or bullshit. But,
just a buildup of anticipation at that point.
Yeah.
No, I know, and I totally understand it. It's from where you're coming from is like the same way how I feel about with like the Five Nights at Freddy's. When I played the Help Wanted for the VR, I felt like really made me enjoy the Five Nights at Freddy's, but like playing the game itself is like boring as hell because it's just jump scare mechanic and almost scripted.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, like you finally get to the MacGuffin or whatever it is you have to collect, and then what happens? Oh, a monster spawns. Okay, now I have to run away from it and hide. Rinse and repeat. Like,
yeah, but that can be also said a lot of games, to be fair.
I know, but at the same time, like at least in those other games, you have like some way of interacting, or you can do something to the monster. In Amnesia, you've got like nothing. You run, you hide. If you get spotted, you're fucked. Like in other ones, you might be able to distract or throw something somewhere. Nah. So,
See, that's the exact same way about Visage.
No?
I felt that way about Outlast 2 and Visage, because like in Visage, if you stay in the dark too long, it drains your sanity, and it drains fast. So you've got like maximum real time 5 minutes of gameplay in the dark, whereas in the game you've got like, I think it equates out to like an hour, quote unquote, in the game. But you like your countdown starts as soon as you step foot in the dark, and then something will come out and kill you. There's like no way to stop it. There's no like, oh, let me just hide. It's just instant death. And I'm like, okay, that's annoying.
Like, I do appreciate that the games, like I said, they bring in that sanity meter, or you can only hide for so long, because they're trying to, mix it up enough that, can I hide this time, or do I have to keep moving? But I always feel like that just becomes more like a chore to manage, or a hindrance of gameplay, as opposed to anything meaningful.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I would say one example I can use that like really goes against that whole like what I like about it was the Call of Cthulhu. I was like really excited for that game, and it felt very as we're describing that annoyance, because it's just the same rinse and repeat stuff, or like scripted monster fight that you're prepared for, because it's already, or before you even get to there, it's already like you can hide in here. Don't forget.
I when I played through Call of Cthulhu, that was actually it really got it. There were certain points where it actually like really got me, and then other times where I was like, okay,
Well, I felt like the lore that they have from the Lovecraftian stories and stuff like that is really, really good. But like the game itself, and there was really no scary scenes other than like towards the end when like you see the eye. Like that part was actually like really like nerve-wracking. But other than that, it was
there was like no real reward system in that game. It was either you come out
lore. It was really all it was for me.
Yeah. That's fair. When the Fishtown village was like the worst place for me, when you actually like when the people actually start like coming out and showing their true colors and everything like that. I was like, okay, so he was in on it. He knew about it. That person did this. And then like, they're like, oh, so do you want to summon Cthulhu? And I'm like, no, I do not.
Fair enough.
But so I mean, like that can happen, but then you have other games that try to avoid the whole sit and wait kind of thing, which is to go back to just Outlast again, is they make you do the chase sequences. And I know there's like several scripted chases in Outlasts, but I
little
find
piggy guy
kind of I like the pig guy, even in Whistleblower, that one specifically stands out to me.
Whistleblower deals.
That was a whole lot of running in that one.
Yeah, it's they fall issue to the idea of the chase corridor. They need to be readable. If at any point you're doing this big thrilling chase and you can't immediately see where you have to go, it kind of, you get captured or killed, and that kind of kills the horror of it, or that's immersion breaking. But then again, if you make it too fucking easy, your character is then never in any real danger.
Yeah.
And then you have to replay a section 2 to 3 times because you don't know where to go, or you don't know what you have to do to escape, or you immediately get to the end, you're like, okay, whatever, I can look around and look at him coming at me, but so that's why I think like those things can work, but it needs to be really well designed. But I find that most people don't design them very well, and I'm gonna finish this off now, but again, I'm going back to Outlast. So there's a scene where you're running from, was it Eddie? Isn't it the guy who wants a wife?
Yes.
I think it was,
yes. Yeah. The groom.
Yes. The groom. That's his name. Sorry. Yeah. And you're running down the corridor, and it's the exact same scenario. Run into room. You have to close the door. Then you have to push something in front of the door. Then you run into the next room to close the door, to push something in front of the door. And that's the entire chase. And I remember, okay, well, what if I just run for it? You can't, because you have to push something out of the way to get in. So you have no freedom to say, okay, I'll run through this door because I know this one's real open, but I'll block that door. No, it's like, okay, go in, close, block, move, open, close, block. And that's the entire fucking chase. So like, you're not even allowed to think like taking risks. It's like, oh, fuck. I didn't block that door, but he's getting too close and I can make this. No, it's just... You're not running for your life. You're doing fucking chores. I don't come off as I don't want to come off as like nothing scares me. I'm a badass, but it's like style of gameplay I find like boring and not engaged. I'm like, what's going to happen? he's going to catch me, and I'll just have to start pushing boxes again for the next like 2-3 minutes until I see the correct door to get out of, and that's
right.
Yeah. So
I felt like that towards the second half of Alien Isolation, because I felt it was more of a gather this item to get to the next step or to do this next part chore. Because when you're stuck in the medical bay and you have to like go opposite side of the alien to get the item, but then when you get to that side, the alien climbs out of the vent and just stands there for like 5 minutes because it knows you're there, and then it moves away and then comes back again. You're like, I literally just moved from under this table to under that table. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like,
yeah.
I can see the item. Just let me grab the item and let me just run for it. And then when you go to run for it, it's just, you can hear it come up behind you. You just hear the ting, 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 and then grabs you and turns you around and just punches a hole in your face with its tongue. And you're like, ha, ha, I got to do that all over again because there was no save point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was gonna say, like, one of my from that topic, like, topic I do like, or a thing I do like in horror games is the risk reward. Like, I go back to one that I used to abuse a lot was in the original Resident Evil 3.
Fair.
Whenever Nemesis came out, you can down him and get a part for Matilda. I would, back in the day, just like always remember how to do all that. That I like that risk reward system, where you have to do something to get something in return.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mechanic that I really, really like. Or like with the newer Resident Evils, that with the collecting of the treasures, especially in 4, they're make it more unique and that you can put whatever gems, multiples, and it's like a bonus. Because I don't remember them doing that in the original one. Did they do that, Irish? I don't remember.
Yeah, if you're getting, oh wait, no, not the, you wouldn't get a
multiple bonus,
a combo
right?
Bonus.
Yeah.
What you'd get is basically like you'd have like the gems being of the more expensive quality, but if you put like 2 of the same color in, you wouldn't get a
bonus.
So which is a bit of a shame, but I think it's a nice little addition as to like, weaker gems actually have a purpose. It's not you're suddenly grinding for yellow. It's like, oh, I'll hang on to this item because I can get a yellow gem 2 missions. I was like, no, you can actually get a multiplier. So I think they improved on some of the older systems.
That's fair. One speaking of Resident Evils, I actually really enjoyed number 7 because that was my third. That's the third one that I've ever played, because I played either 2, 3, and 4,
the whole
or
series.
3, 4, and 5. Oh, I've watched my friends have played the whole series.
You gotta experience the campiness, and especially in the fucking Wii ones, Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles. Come on.
I've never played those.
Oh my god, you miss out.
I personally, I suck at resource management, because like I'm like, oh yeah, I can definitely get a headshot on this zombie, and I aim in and I'm like, pow, that was to the left, pow, that was to the right, and it just goes like, as it's like slowly just walking towards me down the hallway. It's not even dodging. And then I'm like, right when it gets right up to me, I've already used like 10 shots of the 20 bullets that I had. And I'm like, pow, got him. Shit. Let me go get more bullets. But yeah, like I really enjoyed the risk reward
game that I enjoy.
But I think those games work really well. Like my first ever Resident Evil game, it was 4, but I think I only got into it like 2017. I picked it up on Steam because I was like, oh wow, I finally want to get around to actually playing these games, and I really, really enjoyed 4. The first game that I ever streamed fucking 3 years ago was Resident Evil 1, because it was on Steam and it was completely different. And I think it still might be, it's definitely my top 3 favorite of the franchise, as it's that proper retro console puzzle horror game, but at the same time, like, it's a little bit modern enough that it still holds up. I really liked it, but again,
the Resident Evil 1 remake was made back on the GameCube.
I know, that was like what, 2004,
2003, 2004, I think,
something like that, and it holds up really well. It's one of my faves, and then that made me go on and play all the remainder of the series, and I've played all mainline games. I haven't played the original 2 and 3, but I've played everything else. I know. I want to get around to playing them at some point. But
what was the one that like was universally hated aside from like
6
parts of 8? Was it 6?
If we're talking main storyline, 6. If we're talking overall, I think
actually
it's,
no. Sorry.
Dead Aim.
Sorry, Resident Evil 6 was my first ever Resident Evil game. Sorry, I played that when it came out on 360. And then I remember, I was like, oh, I want to get back into the series. And then I played 4 in 2017. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
but
so Resident Evil 6 is, oh my God, so bad.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait for them to remake that. I think that's exactly like those style games, like Resident Evil, Alan Wake, Left 4 Dead. Those things, like, it's nostalgia definitely, but I think those games work because they create a sense of tension with the gunplay and the atmosphere. It's like, yeah, I've got a revolver, but these fuckers keep coming and I've only got so much ammo. So like, is this the room that I'm going to stand and fight in? Or is this the room that I need to run from? However, I think something big is coming. So am I going to risk potentially getting damaged? And then I'm like, I have to worry about my health in this boss fight. And is that going to make me reload? Or like do I just start taking them out? And then hopefully I have enough to get through the boss. And like, I think when you're playing all these like 50 scenarios in your head and the zombie is still coming at you, like that tension is what really, really makes a good game, because you're genuinely immersed. You are stressed. You are tense. You care about your choices. Like, do I brave this area this time, or do I shoot the gun? And even if you die and you have to be reset, you're still thinking like, well, fuck, okay, I have to get through this area still. So like, do I swap tactics? You never feel, okay, I have to go back. I have to push the thing in front of the door and lock the door and run to the other end and push the, it's you like every choice now has the chance of being moved on to something else. Like, don't tell, like, when you're running through an area trying to avoid the zombies and then you finally get grabbed, you have that, oh shit moment, and you try to fight. I'll wrap this up very briefly, but even just in other games outside of Resident Evil, Alan Wake, one of my all-time favorite games.
Yeah, good game. Good
10 years later, I knew the sequel was coming out. Yeah,
I think it comes out next year.
I remember. Yeah, believe me, I'll be first to buy it. I remember one memory that I have of that game on Xbox. I was overrun by enemies. I was low on ammo and I just started running. Now, Alan can run for a little bit. He's not like a shitty sprint, but you can hear him get tired. And I saw a safe haven up ahead. So it's basically a massive street light. For anyone who doesn't know, in Alan Wake, enemies are weak to light. They're like people who are possessed by a darkness. So I'm like, I'm low on health. Stand in the street light, you get help back. So I'm sprinting for it. I'm like, fuck all of you. I'm going to live. Don't care if I have ammo. You get to it. The light actually, like the bulb explodes because the evil presence is chasing. And I thought, and I had to keep sprinting away. I'll never, that memory it's like a core memory that has stuck with me. That, oh shit moment. I was so sure I was going to be safe. You remember that scene? Dude, yeah. I was so sure I was going to be safe. And then the fucking street light cuts out the moment you get to it. And I just remember sprinting and freaking out.
I didn't make it past the light bulb blowing out because like I would turn, shoot, back up a little bit, turn, shoot, back up a little bit. And then like, I don't know what in my brain told me, hey, stupid, they're weak to the light. Go to the street light. I was like, okay. So I book it to the street light. I make it to the street light. As soon as I do, it cuts out. And right when it cuts out, the horde that was just following me just jumps on top of me. And I'm just like, ah!
Yeah, that was it. Like I was in my head, I was thinking like, I'll just stand in here. They can't get to me. They'll throw axes at me, but I'll just die. Nope.
You thought you stuck again. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, you thought the light was a rally.
No, I'm not Batman. Leave me alone, Bane.
But that game was fantastic. Yeah. So I know most people probably think, oh, give a guy a gun and it's not scary, but I think it's the exact opposite, because now you have all these more responsibilities to deal with and they genuinely feed into your survival. Like there's certain games that you can go back through and you can choose. You don't even have to fire a gun. You're just going to try and like run around the enemies. There's even speed runs that people do of that kind of. That's its own kind of horror to learn as well. And I think that can be a lot of fun.
Atrocious. I tried to speed run 7. I tried and I failed not only miserably but gloriously miserably, because I got past Papa, I got past the dad, and then I got to Mama, and I was like, this is like my second or third time playing it. I can't remember, but when I got to her, the first thing I did was I went to check my resources because I knew I had to get the flamethrower, be able to beat her and all that fun stuff. But when I went to check my propane tanks, I forgot I had upped the difficulty, which limits the amount of resources that you then get. Because I was playing on medium, and then I turned it to hard. So in that section, instead of me getting 3 canisters of the flamethrower, I only got 1. I was like, no.
I do like when some horror games do it that way, but I also hate when they do the Resident Evil and like Dead Space, where it's like it doesn't matter what firearms you're carrying, it doesn't give you to what you're carrying. It just still consistently gives you like one of everything when you're not even using it. I hate when it does that.
I do too.
Like if I'm trying to do like the plasma only run on Dead Space and I'm still picking up liner ammo, rack ammo, it's like, dude, just fucking why? I'm not even using these. Get this out of my face.
There's some people that mod it for that. I know they run mods for it and stuff like that, so that way they can have like that one specific ammo, so they can do that one specific type of run. I think I've seen you do it with Dark Souls, I want to say.
Oh, it's like almost like a randomizer mod. Oh, okay,
yeah,
interesting.
Well, I think like that can be like a nice thing to do. Like that harkens back to me for like the old retro FPS games like Duke or Doom, and you get like a big ammo bag, and that's like a fuck ton of bullets all at once, whereas you're still using it. It's like even then that kind of pushes a little bit of gun variety. You don't just stick to the one weapon the whole time. It's like, oh, I just suddenly got a load of plasma rifle ammo. Well, there is a cyber demon over there. Like whereas before, like you're probably like stacked on fucking super shotgun shells, and you're like, yeah, that fucker's going down, but like mix it up because they did give it to me, and then everyone else is going to get super shotgun. So like, but I know when you're doing a run specific, really fucking annoyed when that keeps happening to you.
It's so frustrating. It is so frustrating.
Honestly, if I were to say my favorite horror game that has to be what has come out in recent years is the team that made Until Dawn. They've made Man of Medan, Little Hope.
They're good. They're good.
Oh, the Dark Picture Studios.
Yes.
Isn't that their name?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I love that style of gameplay because it's not only like a resource management for some, it's also a choice of like, oh, if I make this choice now, this is going to affect me later on.
Their choice games done right. Like the only other one that I really liked was like Telltales was the other one I remember really doing those pick and choose your adventures. Was the Wolf Among Us was my favorite variation of that one.
Yeah, Wolf Among Us is probably the best of the bunch.
Yeah,
but no, I agree with you. I really liked the Dark Pictures anthology things. As I played them with a friend, as those are actually co-op games.
Yeah,
so you can
have a team of 4
independent, and you can have a team of 4. And I thought that's actually unique. Like you now not only have to go, okay, I'll pick option 1 this time, and then I'll come back on my second playthrough and pick option 2. You can have each person making their own individual choices for certain characters, so you have a lot of who are you playing. Like I thought that really mixed up the formula. But also like, well, I mean, it's still a choice game, so it's limited, but there's enough variety, and you got a bit of star power, like Will Poulter in the witch one with the town of Salem. Like that was Little Hope. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah,
that one was fun. I enjoyed Little Hope because it was like no spoilers, but it was a lot of psychological in that one, and I really enjoyed the psychological aspect of it, as well as like, if I don't make the right choice at the right time, this person's going to die, and then I can't have this happen, which leads me to this ending or this scene where this happens, and then I miss out on this part of the story. I was sweating bullets on Little Hope because The only one that I haven't had my entire team survive on was the recent one, and that was The Devil in Me.
I
That
haven't
one,
played that one.
they changed up a lot with this one, and I really enjoyed it. I would be glad to play it again with friends because I played it solo both times, and the first time only 2 people from the team survived. Second time everybody survived. So I legit like went through and wrote down what choices to make, when to make them. Like on this scene, this person has to choose option A in order to get to this. And if I mess it up, I would go back and redo it.
Yeah.
I think I still have the playthrough somewhere of that. And I like that because in that one, you have a little bit of resource management along with each player has a different skill that allows you to do something. So if you make the wrong choice, you miss out on that skill later. Like one guy's a lockpick, another lady's like really good with technology. Another guy has a flashlight.
The characters that you save can actually progress or unlock different parts of story. So that's something I actually really liked that about the games is that, you're no longer just trying to herd your collection of sheep. You actually have a reason to keep them alive. Even if you don't mesh well with that character's story, they could still be useful for the characters that you care about. And I thought that was an interesting way to kind of get around the whole, I don't give a fuck if this character dies. I don't like them. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Like they complain about every fucking choice. I'm like,
yeah.
However, they're the one who can lockpick, and you're like, fucking son of a bitch.
I want him to die, but I need him.
Yeah, that's where I think that level of design and balance comes in very well.
Yeah.
If you can't make a character likable, make them useful.
Yeah. I firmly believe in that.
That's fair. That's fair. I feel like that reminds me of like the Resident Evil Outbreak series where certain characters have certain abilities and or like healed better or blah 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 blah. But God, I hated those games. I hate it especially when you're trying to do it alone. But like then you have like CPUs controlling them. It's the worst.
Yeah. I'm going to change gears for a moment to kind of go back to that idea of not being able to defend yourself. But I'm going to mention a game that I think does it really well. Have either of you played at Dead of Night?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Well, to fill it into you, Ms. So very briefly, it's a basically live action blended with some visual and gameplay elements. The idea is that you're with a bunch of friends and you're staying at this remote hotel, and the owner of the hotel has a split personality and he goes insane one night and he basically locks up everybody and he's trying to kill you. You're trying to free your friends while also uncovering some of the mysteries of the hotel.
It's a great game.
And he stalks you and chases you around the hotel. Everything is first person. So basically just imagine like you step out of the elevator, you click on your screen whether you want to go left or right, and that's how you navigate the entire game.
Okay, it's like King's Quest.
Yeah, it's a very limited sense of control, but it's done extremely well because the sound is such a brilliant aspect of the game.
I love when like audio cues in horror games are like,
you'll love this game.
Very helpful.
You'd absolutely love it. So there's no music, but the idea is that ironically the character's name is Jimmy. So not to be confused with the Jimmy currently right now, but
not me.
But he moves up and down different floors stalking for you. The idea is that you don't really get chased or jump scared. He lies in wait for you, but you can kind of tell. So he'll make comments or he'll say things like, "Where are you?" or something like that, and depending on how far away or how close that is tells you where he is approximately to you. You can go into different hotel rooms and hide. You can look through the keyhole and wait for him to pass by. Maybe he's going to try and come into the one and you have to hide in the room. It's good. You can see his shadow on the ground sometimes if he's waiting behind a corner. Yeah, and it's only if you move forward that he will like jump out and attack you, and then you get reset.
There's only one type of defense in that game too. It's where if you hide in one of the wardrobes, he'll come into the room real quick and then he'll make it sound like he left and then he'll go into the bathroom. If you have the key to that room, you can run out of that room, turn around and lock the door real quick. And that gives you 5 minutes of grace, depending on the difficulty you played on. It gives you 5 to 10 minutes of grace before he gets out of it, because he does have a master key in his possession.
Yeah. So like, there's so much of so it's the sound of him stalking you informs the gameplay choices that you make. If you hear absolutely nothing, he's on a different floor. Go around, do whatever the fuck you want. But if you hear him, you're not in any immediate danger. He could be in the east wing and you're in the west wing of whatever floor. But you at least know he's there.
Yeah.
You can click to shout out and call out to him and he'll answer you. And like that could alert him to where you are. And so it's good. But
there's also
to continue
another
on about
hint. There's another hint, and I didn't catch this until much later in my first playthrough, is that if you see his vision, like the vision of Jimmy kind of blurred, he's not on your floor when you look into a mirror. And then if you see him kind of like glitching towards you and like attacking you, that means he's on that floor or he's near.
Oh. But so what Jimmy mentioned there about Jimmy, continue on about this idea of brilliant sound design, is that to uncover and find your friends and learn more about it, you start to find ghosts around the hotel, and they're all connected to his past or people he's hurt in some way. And you get what looks like a really old walkie-talkie from like the 1910. It's like a gramophone-esque style
like
thing. When you click into it, it's big, it's clunky. When you click into it, it's got like that real old scratchy 1920s staticky vinyl-esque gramophone sound. It's fucking great. So all the characters' voices come through. You use that to communicate with the ghosts. So it's like a mystery puzzle with horror games, and he's constantly chasing you. So
you would absolutely love this game.
I'll have to try that out.
Yeah, it's really good. You get like a little mirror, and the idea is that if you don't know where to go next, go into a dark place, use the mirror. It kind of like shows you a vision of what to do. That alerts him though.
Yeah.
So he now knows where you are, and he's going to come find you. So the sound of the visions, they're ethereal and really cool, but it alerts him to come and hunt you. So once again, like sound influences the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like the kill is a jump scare because like he jumps out and hits you, but it's never
bam
cheap. Yeah, it's not like cheap horror. It's built up with this tension, or you feel like he's kind of finally enclosed on you, where it's just like, oh, maybe he'll be around this corner, 50-50 chance. Whereas like, no, I've actually done enough things to have like a real
threat.
Genuine, anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
but it's really good. The design in that is great for sound. So I think something you'd
enjoy.
Yeah.
And one thing that I actually really did like about that game, because I just bought it on a whim. I was like, oh, this looks. I've seen somebody else play bits and pieces of this. Markiplier played it. And I was like, you know what? I want to play it. Yeah, he did. He locked himself in one of the, because there's only 2 floors in the early part of the game that Jimmy can't go on. That's the basement and the first floor. He goes on floors 2, 3, and 4. But you have to discover the stories on each one of the floors. So you have to travel up and down. So Jimmy travels with you up and down. And the one place that I hated going was the top floor because it's real confined. You only have 2 places that you can actually go in that game, and they're both connected by one room. If you can find the key that connects those rooms, and that's real, or those segments of the hotel, and that's really the only way you can like kind of get away from Jimmy, is because you can just turn tail and run away from him, but you got to be smart about how you do it, because if you do it wrong, you're going to end up behind him, and then you're stuck, because once he figures out, oh, she's not this way, he's going to backpedal and come back that way. So you have to.
Yeah, the AI can play into it a bit. So that's
anyone.
Good game.
Yeah, it can get frustrating, but it's a fantastic game, and it's all about audio cues, listening in, planning out properly, because there's no items that you really have to manage, because there's not like you don't really have any type of defense like Irish said. You just kind of.
Yeah. So that comes back into that idea, I think, again, of like you're defenseless. but it's relatively done well.
Yeah,
it really is.
But talking still about sound, I'm going to hit you with another random one. Have you ever heard of a game called Betrayer?
I've heard of it.
Name sounds. Name sounds.
Right, I won't dwell on it too long, but it's a simple indie game. But the idea is that you're on like the American frontier, that type of time period.
Right.
The game is done in black and white, but certain points of interest are highlighted in red. You wake up, you're injured, and you have to follow this woman in a red cloak. You are going kind of through Native America, but you fight possessed conquistadors.
Oh, wow.
The game has absolutely no music. It's just all sound. And you hear the wind blowing and the growls of the otherworldly enemies. It's not really a scary game, but it fills you with a real sense of tension and dread. It doesn't take too long to play. Like, you can get a gun or you can get a bow and you can use both and you just kill X amount of enemies. But it's also kind of like a puzzle thing. Like, each level is a fort you have to get through. There's ghosts that haunt it. You can change back and forth between like the spirit realm and the normal realm. You might have to go like 5 levels ahead to get a shovel to come back to the first area to dig up one thing to complete a mystery. So there's a little back and forth between it. It works well.
Right.
But it's only like a couple of hours long. But the sound has stuck with me for all these years later. Like the noise of the soldiers, the wind blowing as the branches shaking, the sound of their like iron armor rattling, or you can hear their guns and crossbows on them. It's something that I don't know why. Like, and all of a sudden, if they see you, they charge you, and it's not scary. But it really is panic-inducing, and there's a real sense of dread. It's like, it's just a normal guy. All I have to do is shoot him with the fucking gun. But you have this thing, and like just starts running at you. You're like, fuck that. which you can't because you have a flintlock pistol. But but yeah, no, it's a really. Well, hold on. I played it how many years ago? I'm going to check how much it is now on Steam, just because if anyone's curious.
I was getting ready to ask if it was on Steam.
Oh, it's on Steam. Yeah. I played it. It's it's no longer available on the Steam store.
Ah, lame.
Wow. That's sad. Why did it get taken off? Huh.
That sucks.
Okay, well, I'll let you guys jump onto something else. I'm going to Google as to why that shit was removed. Wow. That's a shame, because it was really, really fun.
You know, one aspect of all horror games that I've seen to notice is kind of become an overused, I'll say overused trope, for lack of a better word, is I like horror games. I like puzzle games. I like horror puzzle games, don't get me wrong. But it seems like every time that they come out with a new horror game, it's a puzzler. And, you know, I like, as much as I like that, I'd like to see something
It's
else.
a standard. Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I've noticed that too. Like with a lot of the indie ones and stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it does get repetitive. I'm all for puzzles, but I'm also like the smooth brain who like can't do puzzles very well. And one puzzle that always stands out to me that makes me like absolutely hate puzzles in horror games is still the Zodiac puzzle from Silent Hill 1, because that shit was super fucking annoying.
It was, because you had to remember like a certain sequence that you only see like one time.
It's ridiculous. And I mean, but again, I wasn't paying attention. I was just in it to be scared. I didn't pay attention to the story for the longest time until like years later. But that whole thing fucking sucked.
There's actually 2 relatively recent action horror games that I've come to really enjoy. The first one is called Bigfoot. It's literally you're in the woods hunting Bigfoot. You're trying to kill Bigfoot, and it's actually kind of hard because you have resource management that you have to do. You have items that you have to use in certain points to help you track Bigfoot and all that fun stuff. And it can jump scare the shit out of you. And the only thing you have to know where Bigfoot is you'll hear stomping coming towards you, and he'll run at you like a friggin' like a big ass rugby player or a big ass linebacker from like an NFL team and just smack you.
I was gonna say I played one like that, but it was the Wendigo, and that one I know like the lore behind the Wendigo and stuff, so I wasn't expecting it to fully mimicate things or like be a mimic in the world. So like when I was hunting it, there's a spot I remember very specifically where I heard the dog barking. I was like, oh, there's the dog again. And then I was like, okay, tracking, and it had the arrow on the dog. I was like, what the fuck? And the moment I took a step forward and it fucking lunged at me, I swear to God, the way I fucking screamed.
that is the moment that you knew you should have worn the brown pants.
Oh, dude, I fucking, it got me so good.
The other one that I was going to mention is a game called Ghostwire Tokyo. I actually really enjoyed that game.
Mixed things about that game. I haven't seen much on it though, but it looked interesting. It had an interesting concept.
Basic synopsis of it is you're a resident within the Shibuya. I believe it's the Shibuya district of Tokyo. They tell you which district it is. And while you're living there, something happens to where you gain supernatural powers, and then all the people that were living in that area of Tokyo become either ghosts or they become something else, where you're no longer on the same plane of existence, and everyone's trying to collect human souls in order to power up an evil entity. And your job is to defeat as many entities as you can in order to beat the game. But the thing that actually really made me buy this game was it had one of my favorite urban legends that I heard when I actually visited Tokyo. It was called the Slit Mouth Woman. And what she is, she's a relatively slender female with really pretty features, and she wears a face mask like the kind that we did during the pandemic. And she'll ask you, am I pretty? If you answer yes, she'll take the mask off, revealing that she has a slit from the corners of her mouth going up towards the back of her jaw. And then she'll ask you again, am I still pretty? If you answer yes, she then gives you scars similar to hers. And if you say no, she kills you on the spot. So there's no real like definitive way you're supposed to answer the question. And I seen one of the ghosts in the game was her. And I was like, man, this is awesome. But it's also like kind of a semi-open world exploration of like Japan and lore and stuff like that. Because each ghost has like a different name than you would expect it. This wouldn't be like I would say kind of like, as much as I love them, the what was it? Zombie game that Valve produced.
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead. Thank you.
I was really checking. I was like, is there some other zombie game that Valve produced? I'm like, it's gonna be Left 4 Dead. It's Left 4 Dead, right? Left 4 Dead.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like the naming scheme of that.
For a loop there, I was like, there's another zombie game by Valve. What could it be?
Yeah,
that's why I said the zombie game that Valve produced.
Threw me for a loop there for a sec.
Yeah.
But like how they have the naming schemes for him, like the smoker, the liquor, the spitter, the tank, the jockey. They're like the Ghostwire Tokyo actually has like different names for different ghosts and stuff like that. I just enjoy it for like the lore aspect, the visuals, the sound, the fact that it's like it's not so much just a simple horror game. It's an action horror game. I'd love to see more like that.
That's fair. One game that I like where you're technically defenseless, but not like mechanically how it works is Fatal Frame.
Oh yeah,
that's a very good one for me because it is truly terrifying to know like how close they are or how to like even get near them. Especially when like it's like the same thing with Clock Tower, how there's like certain enemies you're not even allowed to fight or you don't have a special way to defend yourself. Yeah. It's that again for me, that risk and reward for exploring and like risking like sanity or risking resources.
Health. Yeah I do like that.
Enjoy that.
Well, that's another one where like risk and reward comes in well. Is the Forest games?
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk about briefly. Is I'm sure like anyone listening to this probably knows all about the first Forest game. It was massive. It was everywhere. It was a mess of a game that somehow got increasingly popular. And I mean, fair play. I mean, it's enjoyable, but at the same time, like when you really start to look at it, you'll notice that game's a fucking mess. Like I only found this out the other day. Well, I say a day, like about a couple of weeks ago. I was like, did you know the caves in that game are upside down?
Huh?
When you get, okay, so spoiler for anybody else, but like there's a section where you have to go to like the final cave, which technically, if you place the caves on top of the map, you should be following a cave up, and that leads you into the mountains, which is where you find a secret base, and the rest of the story takes place in there. No, actually, if you have the compass out and you follow your way to where that end door is, you actually go south. You go to the bottom of the island. If you look at both maps and you overlay them,
wow,
they fucking put the cave map in upside down. Everything that should be going north points to the south and vice versa. So the game level itself doesn't even make sense.
That's funny. That is funny.
Yeah, I can't believe it. So it's a mess of a game. But like the idea of like being alone, it's a base builder. You've got cannibals, resource management. You know, why the fuck would I ever go down to this god awful cave with all these monsters? Well, you're either going to get an item that progresses the story. Maybe you're going to get a bit of lore, or maybe you're going to get a new weapon. There was a nice sense of risk and reward. But the second game, I feel
the off chance again that you know firsthand, like when you're playing with friends, it can go into even shitter show.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. But then the second game, I feel like it's definitely done that a lot better. As in, you can actually get a gun instead of just relying on a fucking bow the entire time. And let's go off and fucking find rocks for 10 minutes. No, like it works. But then co-op is actually far better implemented. You can have a great time or a fucking unbearable stress fest with friends. Like, we've all played this game together.
We have.
Like the base building mechanics is a lot of fun until they decide to update the mechanics. At one point, like I'm sure you both remember, you were helping or watching me. I had to rip apart our entire house and rebuild it from the ground up. That was like 300 fucking cut trees. Because it didn't work.
Different
risk and reward, huh?
Yeah, that was annoying. Oh my god!
But at the same time, that process was so much easier rather than just cut down tree, chop it. We got that rope gun. We went into a cave. We got it. We can actually put logs on it
and use it like a zip line.
So like that. So they're a zip line. They might travel. So your collection is actually a lot smoother. So there's things like that. You can obviously get more powerful weapons. You can get certain things to customize onto your. I think they're not perfect, and these are early access games that keep getting changed and upgraded. But I think they're a nice sense of risk versus reward. You're not completely defenseless, but there's some monsters and creatures in there that are really difficult to deal with, and it's better to go with friends. But at the same time, you can find little strats and cheese it, or then again, your friends might make everything a lot worse depending on who it is you play with, you absolute motherfuckers.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I still remember someone blowing up our first base.
Yeah, so do I.
Kelvin too.
But but I know there's certain games, but even then, like when you start thinking about talking about friends into it, games are no longer scary. You've got friends, you're making jokes, you're like, like, look at this guy, fuck it, we got all this guy together. Like, we were all playing Dying Light. There was a boss. All four of us just started drop kicking the boss over and over, and we were just laughing the whole way through. One game that I've played with people that we are never making jokes in and that we're really all focused in is GTFO.
Yeah.
Have you played that?
Dude, that game is a whole nother breed though, because I mean that literally is one of those you fucking step wrong and everything's hunted.
Yeah. So again, for anyone listening, very briefly, so GTFO is you are going into an underground base. There's a load of these monsters, and they're like, as a prisoner, they're all asleep. And your goal is to get in and recover something, either it's a USB stick or get information off a computer. And you have to go through all these different sections. So you can kill enemies stealthily by walking up and hitting them, but certain ones might alert another one. So you have to coordinate between your friends. Okay, on 3, we take down these 4 all together, or else they're going to wake up. If you miss, if you alert them, if you move too fast, they wake up. Like one false step everything turns into a massive shit show. And it's one of the few games I can.
Resource management is very, very intense. Like, because it's so like intense. You have to make all your shots count. You have to make sure you have your like trap set perfectly, or it's like, hey, hopefully we can get like a good chunk here and not have to waste as much ammo, or it like kills one and then the horde behind it swarms. It's
one thing that I think GTFO did really, really well is the fact that it has random monster generation. So you can go into the same room 3 times and never have the same horde, same monster in that room. So you have to plan accordingly. Yeah.
It plays really well into body horror as well, because I mean, at first they're just like these kind of mostly humanoid things, and when you get close they start to glow and they make this kind of weird pulsating noise, like the idea of like a witch growling in Left 4 Dead. Think of it like that. And they're straightforward enough. Line up, count down to 3, smash, kill everything with a melee. But then you have these other ones. They're bigger, they're tankier, and obviously you can't kill them with melee, so you have to avoid them. But some of them have this thing like they've got no head. It's just a throat. But this kind of like antenna thing comes up and it splits into like 10 different little feelers, and they all go out over a massive range. So if you're anywhere near it within this range, it's like a snake's tongue. It senses you.
Yeah.
It's fucking murder. It's creepy to look at. You like, obviously you don't want to get caught, but you also don't want to go anywhere near it, because like that thing is fucking freaky. Between knowing that your guns are for the most part powerful, but they're really not all that powerful either. Like a common enemy does not go down in one shot with a shotgun. Sometimes it can, but you might be taking 2 shots an enemy, and if you've got maybe like 20 rounds with 4 in the chamber and you've got like a massive horde coming, you need to have a second gun. You need to make sure all your shots land. You need to make sure you have sentry set up. You need to make sure that your squad is tight. But then the game's also, there's an alarm going off. These guys are going to keep spawning unless you run around and do all these little objectives.
You got to like press the buttons on the computers and then sit in this one point and sit there for like
King of the Hill kind
seconds.
of thing.
Yeah.
And then like defend yourself.
I can't really think of too many other games like that while story isn't that much interesting, sound design is okay, gunplay is whatever, the risk versus reward, the reward is actually progressing. The risk is the entire game. But it's the only one that I can think of where you can try and make jokes and crack friends, but like everyone has to be on guard 24/7, because if you make one mistake, everything goes all over. And chances are you'll have to do a complete restart.
Yep. And
that's asking a lot when 3 people could be perfect and one person could maybe time their melee a little bit late. Just even though they're giving it their all, it's just, or someone clicks a little too early. It's in that little category that I'm trying to think of other games that make you go, fuck, okay, really shut up, stop talking, enough jokes, let's get our heads together,
So I mean, it really depends situational, because I mean, I feel that way with sometimes when like for me, like an instance like that where it's like your team has to work together is like Gears of War 3 when you can do the 4-player co-op on the story. It was like, you do this section over and over again with your friends and whatever. You can still crack the joke. It was like, okay, now we got to buckle down. We're getting to that one spot.
The one thing that was like that for I'll do two real quick for GTFO like that with me was where we had a 3-man group, because you can have a 4 to 6 man team in that game. And
can you? I always known that it was 4 people.
It is 4. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was 4 or 4 to 6. But
calling you out, man.
I haven't played it in so long, but I was playing that game when it was in beta. So I bought the early access version of it, which I think it's still technically early access. It hasn't done the full release yet. But we were in the first tier, and I opened the door and it was full of the ones that are like kind of crouched over and their heads are glowing and throbbing and pulsating. And while my 2 friends were over there discussing tactics, I was going into the room and smashing the heads of all of them. And I missed one, and they found the one, and that one alerted a bigger one that came in there and just fucked us up. They're like, we thought you got it all. I was like, I fucking missed one.
Yep.
Yeah.
A small thing.
And that's all it takes in that game.
And then Gears of War, the first time I ever played Gears of War, I played it co-op with a friend of mine, and I really struggled on the very first one at the end when you're on the train and you got to fight that the guy that wears like the long black trench coat. And he's got like a swarm of things
Oh,
around him.
yeah,
Ram.
Yeah,
General
that
Ram.
one. Oh my god, he did a shoulder charge when I went to throw a grenade, and it knocked the grenade out of my hand and killed my friend.
Yeah,
was
no,
so
see,
pissed.
that's like one of my favorite like action horror games because it's very like actiony but like it has very good like horror elements, especially with how some of the locust designs are. I mean, how
Yeah.
the Berserker itself, the first time introduced, is very horror movie esque.
Yeah. And then also on top of that, you get involved with all the characters and their storylines. Coltrane, Dom, Phoenix,
Baird, Marcus, yeah,
all the Bairds.
family.
Yeah. Freaking I feel so bad for anybody whose name is Baird in that game, because you're like, oh, how long are you gonna last this time?
Damn it, Baird. Shut up, Baird. Yeah, the entire time. Like,
who was the guy that they broke out of the prison in the first one? And then
Dom broke out.
Marcus. Like Marcus is like your first level is literally being broken out of prison.
No, not Marcus. It was after Marcus. He was assembling his old team, and they went after the Polynesian guy, and he had been stuck in a locust prison.
Oh, Ty, yeah, Gears of War 2, yeah.
Ty. I'm sorry, it was Gears of War 2. Yeah, Ty. That scene, I was just like, why? But why? Because just when you see his body just fall back after Marcus handed him the shotgun, he's like, come on, we gotta go. And then you just hear bam, and he's like, Ty! You just see his body just fall back. I was like,
well, that's it. Like that's again kind of like setting the idea of like story is like, this guy's a bad motherfucker. He survived everything. Even in the second game, they keep showing like how much shit he just brushes off. And he's like, dude, we're sorry, your entire squad died, but you survived. It's like, everything happens for a reason. You know, it's like real sexual Tyrannosaurus energy from fucking Predator. You know? It's like he's been captured for like 4 hours. And he's immediately choosing suicide instantly. I was like, damn, the locust must be like super fucked. Or I was like,
yeah. What are they doing?
Yeah, like what did they do to him in that short amount of time? Because they like you literally start the game and get to the second level, and then you have to go save him. Then you find him, and then that happens, and then you're like, oh, what do I do? What do I do now?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do enjoy the action horror games. Those are some of my favorite ones. But
I mean, one that I always stand with, and I'm pretty sure Irish might as well, I'm not sure, is the Devil May Cry franchise, because it's got very like creepy monsters, very horror vibes. Like the first one's very like horror action themed.
Yeah.
You can really see the Resident Evil leftovers.
Yeah.
And you guys might chastise me for this, but I played those. I played those out of order. I played 3, 2, 4, 1.
Ouch. The fourth one was my first one, and I had no clue how to play it at the time. I just remember like mashing Y and everything or B, completely ignoring that they were combos.
Yeah, don't worry, I did too. I was me in 3.
Franchise. So I played them all except for DMC and DMC 4 at the time. When they were released, because I was just like, I didn't like how they looked. And then first, the reason I didn't play 4 for the longest time was like, you're not Dante, this game's not worth it.
Yeah.
It was like immediate. It was like
the edgy kid saying I won't play as the edgy kid.
But Irish was going to say something about Resident Evil with the DMC franchise. I'm sorry.
I was just going to briefly chime in for anyone who doesn't know. The original Resident Evil 4 was basically Devil May Cry 1, but as they were developing it, they realized that it was like too tonally different from the first 3 games. So it split off. They doubled down on the style, and that's how we got Devil May Cry 1. Whereas they then kind of changed focus, and that's when Resident Evil 4 became Resident Evil 4. So that's why our DMC1 still has fixed camera angles.
Yeah.
It's like those little leftovers and things. Like at one point, like Dante was going to be called Tony Redgrave, and that was Leon's original name before they settled on Leon. So
right.
Yeah, that's all I was going to add in for a little bit of trivia for anyone wondering what I meant.
Oh yeah, we're all about trivia here.
I didn't know that, honestly. But yeah, after I played I played 3, or no, I'm sorry, I played 3, 1, 2, then 4, then DMC, and then and now I'm playing through DMC 5 again.
Like I'm also a sucker for Capcom storylines. I know they're like so over the top and everything like that, but like the 2 I absolutely hate. DMC 2 will always be like the worst one, but like DMC storyline is just, I could not enjoy it whatsoever.
You play that entire game without underwear.
Yeah. that game's mechanics were fantastic, but I hated the storyline.
I'm going to briefly just chime in and say again, because I fucking hate that game. The gameplay in the definitive edition is fine, but in the original version, they had color-coded enemies. Yeah. You can only defeat a red-colored enemy with a red devil weapon, and I'm like, the entire point of these fucking games is that I can mix and choose whatever weapons I want whenever.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't hit them with anything else apart from like, either the big smashy fist or the red scythe and the red end. I was like, fuck off.
That's honestly what made me like, I actually really liked 4 because that was the first game I had on my old original Xbox 360 for the longest time. And I beat it on every difficulty except for like, the hardest, because I beat it all the way up to hard, and then
or Hellhound?
Yeah, I think it's like Hellhound, and you unlock that after you beat it on hard. And then what I really enjoyed was like the small portion where you actually played as Dante and you got access to all these badass weapons plus his like devil form, and you're like, aha. And then you go back to Nero.
I felt like in 4 though, like even the Dante section, his devil arms are usually what makes him like the most fun, and like I felt like his devil arms in that one were so bad.
Well, I mean, DMC4 was supposed to be a very different game, and they kind of ran out of the budget and development time got shifted around, which is why so many areas are kind of like weirdly stitched together, or like changes like time of day quite rapidly. So again, but I think that says an awful lot about that franchise. I know we're kind of moving away from horror with this name. We're like, if you can have a game that's so randomly slapped together, the senses and the stages, and half of it is like one character's just backtracking through stages they've already played. Mm-hmm. But the gameplay is so fun and so unique, and the style like that, really shows some good design.
I like the one fight that sticks out to me the most is the one with like the anglerfish guy, where he's dangling like a scantily clad, where he's dangling like a scantily clad woman in a snowstorm in front of Dante, and then he just like jumps out and Dante does like a backflip over him. He's like, haha, I knew you were there. It was just like, what? I was like, how badass is Dante?
It's like you can hide that body, you can't hide that stench. All those lovely one-liners.
Yeah, and that made me really because I watched the anime after I played 4. Yeah, after I played 4, and I had a new love for Dante after playing through 4.
It's a shame that 2 is such a steaming pile of shit, but that's a different discussion for a different day.
Yeah, I'm there.
But talking about like older style games, there's one thing that I love, and I think it might be my ultimate vibe for horror games going forward. I don't know about you guys, but it is retro PS1 style graphics FPS horror.
Those were good.
Like, it just ticks everything for me. Like there's a new game upcoming called Gloom World. The whole thing is that it's like Victorian-esque, not Bloodborne, but like you're a doctor, you have to go visit someone, and you're going through like this abandoned city kind of thing at night. It kind of reminds you of Thief in a way. Like you have a cane sword, or you can get a shotgun, and that thing's really fucking powerful. But there's exploration. There's kind of like that whole Doom-esque idea of like going around exploring, finding secrets.
That's fair.
But it's still, I don't know, it's that gritty older graphics, but it's done in a very impactful way. Like, did you ever play Paratopic?
I've heard of it.
It's a surreal psychological horror game, and the idea is that you keep seeing 3 different characters in 3 different perspectives, each at different times. Stories jumbled, gathered up. There's a character that's driving, there's one that's out bird watching, and so on.
Heavy Rain.
Like, Kind of, I suppose. I fucking hate David Cage. Different topic. But at no point, like when someone's talking, you have to read subtitles because it's all like jarbled noise and text.
Simlish.
Yeah, it's kind of like Simlish, I guess. And it's everything that game does is to like, put you on like the wrong sense of footing. It's surreal, it's dreamlike, but there's still a story there, and you're weirdly engaged to play more to get more out of it. So games like that, Murder House, The High Walled Loop, like all of these old style. Well, that's it. It's like that retro horror game where you have to run away, but it's still got the puzzle elements like Resident Evil 1. It's like you have a limited inventory. You can only carry so many things, but you have to go down, avoid the killer, and do all these things. So like you're defenseless, but it's not like the entire game is several hours long. You're still actively doing puzzles and carrying items, and you can heal yourself to try and survive. It feels a bit more meaningful. But all those style games I love, like whether it's Blood, which is just, a scarier and a more brutally challenging version of Doom, or something like Dusk, Frost, Ion Fury, Project Warlock, or fucking Amid Evil, any of those retro shooter exploration games, I think.
Oh, what was it? I want to say it was called Havoc. There's an old PlayStation 1 game that's like that. It's a first person.
Yeah, I remember Havoc. That scared the absolute shit out of me because there's one scene.
That's exactly what you reminded me of.
There's one scene in that game where it plays like a really loud scream or something like that. And I, at the time, was sharing a room with a family friend, and they were sleeping because they worked night shift. And I had to plug in like these big old school DJ style headphones into the TV, so that way I wouldn't wake them up.
Might wake them up too, yeah.
And when that scene played, I screamed, scared them awake, and they like popped up. And they're like, "What?" I was like, "Sorry, the game scared me." And they're like, "I told you not to play that at night," because it was their game that they let me borrow, and it scared the shit out of me.
Well, that's it. But like, this is like my new addiction for horror games. It's games like, I have a load of them added in my wish list, like Rewind or Die, like Layers of Fear is getting a proper remake, so play that. Like Game Grumps only released a Homebody. It's a killer chasing you through a house, but it's a puzzle exploration thing as well. Killer Frequency, Lake Facade, fucking Labyrinth of the Demon King. There's so many of these that are 3D, designed to look like very early janky PlayStation 1 graphics.
Fair.
And I would enjoy that.
And but the style is done so well that it sets you off. It's surreal, it's dreamlike, right? Because they know that it's not like they're doing it like in a cheap way, but it's done enough that you can have a character's face be hyper realistic, but still confined to this low poly, boxy kind of stuff. So you're looking at something that should look as old as the model, but instead, like, every detail is super high def. It's fucking.
There's a game coming out that I really want to play. I have it on my wish list. It's I can't remember the name of it, but you're playing as a vampire lord who's fixing up a hotel. And as you're like fixing up the hotel, you get people to stay at the hotel to earn money or to eat them and turn them into one of your ghouls. And if you eat too many people, you don't make enough money to fix up the hotel. But if you make too much money, you don't eat enough people. And so you're understaffed. So it's like, I don't know if like you're playing as the vampire. And
another management sim with a twist. Those ones are always.
Those are fun. Those can be fun if done right. And like I'm think
so
it's
bad
out
at
yet.
those. It's like a tycoon game. I'm so bad at those.
Yeah, but it's like actively like you're playing as the vampire in first person. You walk into a room and like snap your fingers, and then the wallpaper gets redone, the bed gets made, the floors get cleaned, and then you have like option to either let person A stay in the room for the night, pay for their room, or eat them. And I'm like,
Fair. I mean, I was just thinking of like right now just popped in my head is like, what game like consistently scares you the most still to this day?
Honestly, for me, it have to be any of the Dark Pictures games. Like I can
Fair.
play through any one of those and still get scared by something that I got scared by on the first playthrough.
For me, it has to be a very specific situation, but it's still Resident Evil 7 in VR.
Oh God, yeah.
What's a game that like
Still absolutely terrifies me.
that scares me or even scared me? I don't know. Shit, I'm gonna have to think on that one.
Like one big, I will say this though, one style of game that I have the hardest time playing is anything like supernatural, to where I don't really have a chance to fight back. Whereas like Phasmophobia, even though it spawned like a bunch of clones, and there's one that's done really well as I would say clone-esque, is Demonologist. It's still the same basic concept, but you have the choice at the end of the ghost hunt to exercise the spirit. Whereas in Phasmophobia, you just figure out what the ghost type is and you leave if you live. And I've got to say, both of those games still scare the absolute dog shit out of me. Doesn't matter if I played them 1,000 times, 100 times, what have you. I have well over 300 hours on Phasmophobia alone. And every time the ghost just pops up, comes walking at me, it still scares me.
I feel that way still with Dead by Daylight at times. There'll be times where like I'll be like not scared at all and like more mad that I got caught or whatever. But then there are just times where like I'm super hyper focused because of like we don't know who killer is and it's still that mystery.
Yeah.
And that anxiety for me goes up the wall. And then like, especially if it's like a Myers or a ghost face or a pig coming out of nowhere and just jumping at you when you're not prepared is still absolutely terrifying.
I think the worst version of that is where like you'll be working on a gen and you last time you seen the killer was like across the way, and then next thing you know they're standing right behind you getting ready to pull you off the gen or chase you or whatever, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I can say when you're not paying attention, and like I said, for like Myers or like Ghostface when they're stalking you, and like you just see them out the corner of your eyes, like some of the most terrifying shit. It's still really to me like I enjoy that feeling though. Like I love feeling that like intense like oh shit moments,
like, oh,
but
no.
It doesn't happen it doesn't happen all the time though, which sucks.
I'm trying to think, and again, because I'm such a hardcore fucking badass, genuinely no games are coming to mind that I can think of. But one that I played on Halloween there, so almost a year ago, was called No One Lives Under the Lighthouse.
I've heard of that.
And it's a very unassuming game, as the whole thing is that like you're just a lighthouse keeper. It's again this kind of retro PlayStation 1 style graphics, first person exploration thing, but I heard had so many great things about it, and it's kind of one of the ones that got me into the genre. That I wish there was a proper name for it. It's literally just like, hey, did you play that game? Oh, like the retro PS1 looking style game that's like horror with some potential FPS elements. I'm like, yes, that specific type of genre. Yes, that like
the very niche.
I wish there was a name for it because it's so fucking good. Anyway, but each day, like something's going wrong or there's something strange or like you kind of hear Cthulhu-esque noises sometimes. I played like about 2 hours of the game and I only got like one or two of the endings. At one point, like out of nowhere, you just start getting chased by a monster. But it's something that I've only ever experienced in one other game. It was second person perspective. The idea is that you are controlling you through the monster's eyes, trying to run away from it.
You know, I've only ever seen it in driving games.
Yes, I was just going to say it was a driver. Like I can't remember which one. It was like you are in the obviously yellow car running away, but the police are chasing you. But your camera's in the police car, so you're controlling your car while they're chasing you. Yeah, that's the only one I could think of. Like, but you start to control your character. Like you still have to full on orient yourself as you would playing the game while running away from the monster, trying to get back to the lighthouse itself. But you see everything from the monster's perspective. and you have to like try and remember like how long can you actually sprint for, how long, like it was, it really, it was. They easily could have just had like a monster come at you, you run away from it in first person, or it swaps to third person. But no, you see through the monster's eyes. And the thing is, that made it scarier because you still don't actually know what the monster fucking looks like. You just see these two kind of like spider legs, claws at the front, and you can hear the of the thing coming at you. But you never get an actual look at what it is. Like, is it a big spider? Is it a big fucking crab? Is it something completely different? Is this some Lovecraftian Cthulhu-esque monster? Because there's potentially some of that. It was very very good. Yeah, so I recommend that game to you guys if you get the chance.
We live under the lighthouse?
Yeah, no one lives under the lighthouse.
Okay. No one lives under the lighthouse. Look that one up later.
Yeah.
But yeah, the let's see, there's a game that I played where it's like I think it's still free to play. It could be wrong. But let me see. Actually, I have it over here. Deceit. It's where you have a group of 4 people, and each person has like specific objectives, but one person in the group is the monster. And that can lead to some very jump scary stuff. It's so funny. It's so funny to play.
Yeah, it's the one with the rabbit logo, isn't it? Like you're in the hospital or everything like that as well, or people morph in and out of the monster.
Yeah. And like the objective is, as like the monster, you have to complete your objectives with your team, so that way you're not suspected of being the monster. But you also have to collect blood bags. And one thing that'll give it away,
you transform. Yeah.
It's so funny is that like everyone will like kind of like what I've noticed while playing that game, the many times that I have, is one of 2 things will happen. Everyone will stick together in a group, so that way no one can get the blood bags without getting noticed, or everyone just branches off and does their own thing. And you're like the entire
together in a horror situation. Who would?
Yeah.
See, that's kind of the thing. Like, people didn't like that game when it came out, but they loved Among Us. Deceit came out like a whole year, I think it was, before Among Us was even released.
Yeah.
Which, at the end, Among Us only blew up in the last 2-3 years. Yeah. So even then, it wasn't popular. But like,
yeah,
none of those games, as fun as they are, none of those games have really solved the issue of like, okay, well, let's just team up together, and now the monster can't come at us. You know.
Yeah, because I remember we were grouped up in Among Us, and it was down to like 4 people. I knew the killer was Miz, and I tried to get everyone to understand that it was Miz, because I seen Miz jump into a vent, but he somehow made everyone believe that I was seeing things. And I was like, no, he's gonna kill me as soon as this meeting ends. We have to kick him out now, or we're gonna lose. Everyone's like, I don't know if it's Miz or not, because we had already voted out one of the killers. And they're like,
remember that was like very early on. Holy shit.
Yeah. And Miz was like, no, it's not me. Jimmy's just seeing things. And I'm like, no, it's Miz, damn it. I know it's Miz. And then as soon as the meeting ended, he chased me all the way down into the engine bay where he knew I wasn't going to be able to escape, and killed me instantly. I was like, everyone's like, sorry, Jimmy. I was like, I knew it was Miz. I seen him jump into a vent, damn it.
It's been so long since I played that.
It has. But I know one game that's not a horror game that is a horror game specifically for Miz, and that's Golf It or Golf with Friends.
Oh my god. It's such a fucking nightmare for me. I'm so bad at that. Holy shit.
So am I, but it's just
that's my rage fest. Like, how everyone's like, this game's as hard as Dark Souls. That is my Dark Souls, I swear to God.
It's so funny because like if you so much as like at some points, if you so much as like tap Miz even like a quarter of an inch, he's like, you you're like,
throws off my whole mojo, because I panic. I'm so bad at golf.
It's just so funny, especially if we play like one of the custom maps. It's just so funny to watch, because like
so rage inducing.
He's either screaming because he somehow got lucky and made a hole in one because no one tapped him or got in his way, or just completely missed. Yeah, like, there's no in between. But yeah, that's like the horror game for Miz. But
also, one thing I'm really enjoying right now is video game remakes, like the Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Dead Space, the remakes of horror games, and like improving on their original horror. Like it's still terrifying in its own regards, or you can still feel that update of how it is.
I like how it graphically looks.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, one guy who I watch on YouTube and I highly recommend it to anybody listening, his name is Mandalore, so it's Mandalore Gaming, and he does some seriously brilliant just game reviews of there's so many things that I've just watched him review that I've never even played or heard of. But like for the Dead Space reviews, he's a massive Dead Space fan, so he has a really fair and balanced review going back and forth between those two games, or the Callisto Protocol or Alien Isolation, and he gets into some of these really fine minute details. Like at one point he was doing like the hydroponics area of Dead Space, and talking about like some of the good and the bad, how in terms of visuals it actually looks a lot better. They've slightly changed the layout, but in other parts then he also feels that it's kind of lost that creepier, eerie sense to certain bits of it. But then again, vice versa with some parts of the game, or the ship doesn't seem as much of a monster. Because one thing that I agreed with him that stood out to me was that what's the name of the ship again? I'm nearly forgetting it. The Ishimura. I was thinking of something so it was the Ishimura.
Not Event Horizon, don't worry.
Yeah, I was thinking of Event Horizon. So for the Ishimura, that like you turn on a machine or something like that, you see a load of strange tech moving in the background, or like this impossible machinery. Like it's moving, but like you can't really discern what the fuck is actually
it felt like the ship was
going on,
especially with the marker being inside it. It felt as a whole thing, like, whereas this remake, it doesn't feel that.
It doesn't feel as alive, and that you can actually see further into many of these open spaces that were previously black or foggy, or like you could only render so far, but they used that strength. And I think like that's why I really would recommend checking out some of his stuff, as he's very much aware of that. Like
appreciating the updates and or missing the originals. I mean, like for sections of like Resident Evil 4, I do miss like that whole sewer section, or the U3
sewer
section. It didn't hurt. I didn't really do anything against it, or taking out the clock tower from Resi 3. It's like not a huge thing, but it improves like story flow, or like mechanically in certain areas too, the way how like it didn't transition well into the way they wanted it to, like because the whole asteroid system is much more improved in this one instead of playing that stupid asteroid game in Dead Space.
I actually I have Dead Space 3 on Steam. That was the first time I ever played it. But my only gripe and complaint about remakes is the price point. Like, why are you going to remake a almost 30-year-old game and then resell it for $60-$70?
Today's price.
Well, that depends on your definition of a remake. Is it a remastering, where like, they always call it as a remake, but like, do they literally just top up the visuals? Or have they actually had to, like, how much of the game is remade from the ground up? Do they simply have to port it to a different engine so that it runs better, or you don't have so many issues on modern hardware? Well, then, I mean, porting something in its entirety can also be a large job. So, but markups. This is exactly why I just do not ever fucking like Nintendo. Like, don't get me wrong. I owned a Game Boy Color and a Game Boy Advance when I was growing up. My first ever Metal Gear Solid game was apparently not Metal Gear Solid 4. It was fucking Metal Gear Ghost Babel, apparently. I never fucking knew that. I was a Metal Gear Solid fan before I was a Metal Gear Solid fan. And that was all on the Game Boy. And I had a N64 because it was a gift given to us when people we knew were getting a PlayStation. I was like 4 or 5. I didn't fucking know what video games were. But then I started to play Star Fox and I got addicted to that shit. Then I got a DS and I remember like playing Mario Kart with someone. But now it's like, it's been 2 years, release a new console. Okay. It's like, is it extremely expensive? Yes. Well, can we make our games backwards compatible? Maybe. Okay. It's like playing a game on a DS. Like, yeah, some of these games works. Like playing a game on a Game Boy SP. Yes, your Game Boy Advance games will work. Yes, your Game Boy Color games work. Nice. Moving on to 3DS. No. None of your previous games will work. Buy the new 3DS.
Buy the new 3DS.
And it's the exact same thing with the Switch. I know the Switch is like, yeah, we're great. We're portable. You can take us anywhere. We're like, you can even give like one controller to someone else and play a game together. Cool. What about all these really, really old games? It's like full price. Like this game was out before I was alive. Full price. I'm like, fuck you. It's like, you have the new Switch XL. I'm like, Nintendo. Stop. Just like make one fucking console, update it every now and again, and make your shit backwards compatible that doesn't cost someone full price. Like that was the one thing I loved about the Xbox One. Backwards compatibility. I can still play my 360 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
I think PlayStation's kind of moved with that as well, but
yeah, they finally gotten around to that.
Yeah, finally.
You know, yeah. And even then, like this idea of like games being exclusive instead of being on PC as well. I mean, it can kind of work. But I mean, eventually...
I don't mind exclusives, but I mind exclusives at the same time because it's just like, if you really want your game to do well, don't fucking pigeonhole yourself to one console just for fanboys or for exclusive bragging rights. It's so annoying.
I know that it's supposed to be... I know certain games would be console movers, but like, I don't understand why someone like Sony, or let's just say Santa Monica with God of War, because they eventually did it. But like, it really should be like, okay, we'll be exclusive for 6 months, and then after that,
a year,
it goes 6 to a year, and then it goes straight on to digital platforms for a PC. If you want, it never has to touch an Xbox if it's a Sony series or vice versa. But like the middle ground should be PC because that's a massive fucking market.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
mods and have more fun with it.
Yeah, honestly, from what I understand is that Sony is dipping their toes into the whole PC gaming world because now one of their exclusives is going to be exclusive to PlayStation 5 and PC. I don't know which game it is, but I keep seeing news pop-ups, and I'm like,
report to Bloodborne, I'll be happy.
Oh my god, yeah. Speaking, I mean, that game was not a horror game, but it scared the absolute shit out of me.
It's such a very good Lovecraftian feel. There's a lot of horror elements, but it's your typical FromSoft game, yeah. But the designs in that and the sound effects is like my favorite thing. The music is really what sells me on those games. Not gonna lie, the music is like absolutely beautiful from all the other games. Like
it is,
but like the tone it sets onto, especially in like just some of the like cutscenes, the way like atmosphere works to set up the mood of what you're fighting is also really fun.
Yeah. One thing I did like about the Bloodborne series was the fact that it was not only like story driven, but it also had lore on top of that. Because if you paid attention to like certain things, you're like, wow, this place is actually friggin' sad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's with any of the FromSoft games. The lore is in the world and the items. You make your own story pretty much.
The one that killed me was the Father Gascoigne, because after you kill Father Gascoigne, if you did the story right, the brooch where you find out that the mother was the wife of Gascoigne, and you come back to the kids. Girl. Yeah, you come back to the little girl and you tell her, "Well, I found your mommy's brooch," and you're like, and now you've effectively killed her father, and you're like, "Oh, I'm sad now. I'm gonna go sit down in this corner and cry."
Yeah, things like that can always be good ways to move or drive a story. But I think the real horror of recent years for every video games has been the releasing a game and then releasing an apology straight after it.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like I watched Critical play through all of the Gollum game. Now, granted, it was edited down, so I really ended up like spending like 40 minutes watching. Jesus Christ, that look!
I've heard
I was
so many
falling
bad
asleep
things.
watching. It's a nightmare. It's horrible. But like some developers don't want to port their game over because they're worried of mods. I'm like, oh, you're worried about seeing Kratos with a fucking Minecraft axe? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that's the worst thing that could happen. But then you have other games where it's like The Last of Us. I'm like, you released the game.
Yeah.
Then you released it with an update for PlayStation 4. You have literally remade the entire fucking game from the ground up again for, PlayStation 5. Fucking Druckmann has beat the shit out of that dead horse. Anyway, but like, you're going to port it to PC. How did you fuck up a PC port so bad? It's a game that you have redone 3 fucking times. Surely you should be capable of bringing that to a computer. Well, PC is very difficult to develop for because there's an awful lot of different graphics cards. It's fuck off. Fuck off.
You do a standardized graphics update and boom.
You can do a standardized set and say you should have like minimum and suggested fucking requirements for a PCR on every fucking Steam page. Like you should have it's inexcusable. Like CD Projekt Red with fucking Cyberpunk. I installed how many mods into that game to get it to run better? That ever since I input a SSD in it to move files, the game is broken. I now have to completely reinstall Cyberpunk at some point, find my save file, reinstall a load of mods, and then finally play that game. Like that's how fucked the game is that I need between
that game was bad on release.
Jedi the new Jedi Fallen Order game, Jedi Survivor. Like I was so hyped to play that. Then I've heard everything that's wrong. I'm like, I'm going to give it another couple of months and I'll get to that at some point.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. I heard, I had a friend when the first one came out say the same thing, like playing it on PC is fucking absolute garbage. And I don't know why it's so hard to port it to PC when like it should be very standard to do it.
I know what PlayStation's problem is it's because they have their own in-home graphics cards for their console and all that fun stuff, because it's the same ones that they use in all their smart TVs and all that fun stuff to help offload the processing. But at the same time, the graphics card equivalent to what they have in the PS5 now is still weaker than the 1080. Like the PS4 operated at less than a 970 back in like 2004. So it's like they're just shooting themselves in the foot by overthinking it. That's their biggest issue.
But at the same time, like don't get me wrong, like video game development is hard.
Oh yeah,
it is fucking difficult. Like how many times like the 4 of us jumped into, like you, me, and Dragon jumped into a call and we said, like, what are we going to do? And we've all had like a 15 to 20 minute discussion of like what game to even fucking load up or play. Like then, like, could you imagine the size of a team of several hundred people? Then you have sound, you have graphics, you have visuals, you have like all of these things need to come together to make a game work, and that is a monumental effort. Every game, whether it's shit or good, like there's so much to it. And I fully understand that, and in no way think that I could do better. But like at the same time, if you're going to start, if games have moved from about a €50 price, so now games have now become €70 because extra development and that, they need to be able to fucking run. And this whole horrible system that we've entered of release the disc, then release the day one patch, and then systematically dish out content here and there bit by bit. It's horrible.
It really is.
I know, but that's like the more modern horror aspect of
video games.
It's like, I'm probably going off on a completely different rabbit hole compared to what we were actually set out to discuss.
You're fine.
But
this is the process of this podcast. We go off on tangents. It's fine.
Like, one game that I knew of and I was looking forward to because it's a horror game. It deals with vampires. It seems like it's proper Universal-esque.
Redfall.
Redfall. Redfall is made by Arcane Studios. Arcane Studios. They made fucking Dishonored. Like one of like my all-time favorite games.
Such
I
a
mean,
good
they
game.
have.
I even enjoyed number two.
Like I have yet to finish the second one. That's because I got busy with shit. But like, they made Dark Messiah. They made like Dishonored. They made fucking Prey. Deathloop, which I haven't played, seemed interesting. But man, like Redfall is a real far from Christ. Like,
yeah, like I only watched a 10-second clip from someone playing Redfall, and it was literally the vampire was T-posing while flying at them. The face was moving, the body was not, and it was just like fireball, 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 fireball. I was like, what the hell is this?
Like models and textures not working correctly, like a house where the chimney is floating above the house instead of being connected. Like, I refuse to think that game, like, something must have happened where they were contractually obligated to put out a game, and that was like the most cheap, low effort thing they could do, because they have made some very fucking good games. I refuse to believe that that's them putting their best foot forward. That like felt like an obligation they had to do against their will, you know. But like, the AI is horrible. Like, I watched people play it. Like, I've seen one person stand on the other side of a car, and the AI just cannot figure out how to path to the other side of the car to attack them. And I'm like, this is supposed to be a horror game. This is supposed to be, I think it, like, does it have looter shooter elements in it as well?
I think it does.
Like, you can get like better guns, like epic and things, can't you?
Yeah, I think so.
I haven't seen much on it.
Something like that.
I know you have like skills and stuff you can upgrade at some point too, but people aren't really like delving into too much on the game. They're just like, look how this game runs. Oh my god.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The thing that fucking annoys me the most, like when you actually look up some of the game scores for it, like I typed in and pulled it up here. Destructoid gave it 5 out of 10. Famitsu gave it a 30 out of 40. Game Informer 5 out of 10. GameSpot a little bit closer to home, 4 out of 10. Hardcore Gamer gave it 2 out of 5. IGN thankfully had some sense and gave it 4 out of 10. Still should be 2 out of, like, videogamer.com 7 out of 10. PC Games 7. I'm like,
so
how? When this game is broken, it makes no sense. I mean, like, the characters, like, whatever. It's just
something that I found out is that reviewers are a complete play to pay or pay to play type deal. Excuse me, because when I was doing when I tried to do reviews on games, what I went through and I looked at some of these like ratings from person A and person B, was that they were basically line for line the exact same phrasing, just worded differently. Like was like they don't look at the game as an overall. They look at certain aspects. They look at how much money it can bring in for like Studio B that paid them X amount of dollars to review it for this length of time. I was like, what the hell? Even IGN, back when they were a reputable reviewer, they were still getting paid to review the game itself, but it wasn't like, hey, here's an extra 100,000 to make my review just a little bit better. It was like, hey, here's our game, review it, let us know what you think, and let us know what we can improve upon. This was like 6 years ago.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, I fucking know that sometimes journalists will get like a demo or a slice of the actual game as opposed to like the real copy that's going to go out for purchase. But at the same time, like, the fact that I genuinely cannot see how the games in some of the states that there are, even if it was just like a tech demo, could somehow run or be better functioning than any of the other ones that are sent out to developers. Like, they're just such a fucking broken mess.
Yeah, I mean, look at the reviews for Cyberpunk when it first released compared to now. Like, they were like, you had like IGN give it like a 9 out of 10. You had like what was it? Game Reviewer, they gave it like an 8 out of 10. Like you just go down the list of the old reviews, and then what we got on release day. It was like,
I treated
one
it
of
as
these,
the Rotten Tomatoes and audience score.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
But I think that's essentially why my taste in horror has started to move towards indie developers. That retro style graphic ones are just like all those things. Like these studios know that their reputation is their lifeblood. You can make a game and you can get a lot of money or little money, but if you make something that's good or that people find interest and people start to play it, people know. And for the most part, I think we're jaded with larger groups. You know, like if you put out a game that's on Steam and it's shit, within 2 hours, or less than 2 hours, you can get a full refund for it. So you need to have something there to make the game worthwhile. Whereas if you look at games like Gloom World, or you look at like these kind of indie dev style games, or even recreations like something like Dusk, that was made by essentially one man, David Zemensky. And it's extremely popular. He's made other smaller horror games like here and there in between, and people have bought them because they know that, oh, it's from this guy. He made that one product that was reasonably charged, gave a load of content, and was actually, you know, worth what I put in. It's for the most part essentially bug free, or people have a hand in its development. Sons of the Forest, I mean,
that was like a group of like 6 guys originally with the Forest.
Yeah, and it was a mess, as I went through earlier on. But, you know, they have a proper team behind it now. Like, there's content updates. People can give feedback. Like, players are, you know, for the most part, actually, you know, taking part in that game's development. And I think that's where the future of horror is. Smaller studios who... Well, I know, like, I was going to say, well, they give a damn. Yeah, I was going to say, well, I know at the same time, like, there's so many ones that will, like, as soon as they know there's a trend, will jump on it. Like, you know, Phasmophobia got big, and then you have other games that tried to copy off it, or Phasmophobia was just the one that was in a line of other first-person ghost games that just got big. You know, there's always going to be, like, the pop-up copycats. Yeah. But there's at least a level of experimentation in there that's interesting and can go somewhere.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Honestly, I was I'm a day one player of Phasmophobia. I got it the day it came out because it was one of the first 3 games I bought on PC. And originally I think it was a team of like one guy that made the game, and now he's got like a whole team of people behind him that are, you know, making the game more visually updated. They're making it better. Here in July, it's gonna have a complete reset to where everyone goes back down to zero, goes back down to level 0, have $0, have options and stuff, and then they have different objectives that they can play instead of it just being the same cycle of the same stuff. And I'm like, you know, this is why I honestly like gaming on PC better than console. But you know, that's just a personal preference. But at the same time, I haven't bought a AAA game in about 2.5 years now, because there hasn't really been anything that I've been like, ooh, I have to get the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's the same one that was out 2 years ago.
It's just games in general nowadays right now are feeling kind of like a stale spot.
Yeah, I don't like AAA studios anymore, honestly.
Well, I still buy some of them. Like, I bought the Resident Evil 4 remake. I bought Mortal Kombat 11 recently because that was on a discount, though. But it's good. I bought Hitman 3 and all the previous 3 games mixed into it. That's AAA. It runs well. It's actually built, because if it's a sandbox game and the whole thing about that game is based around giving player freedom to take out your target, then it needs to fucking work. Certain games have genuine care and love put into them, like the remastered Marvel Spider-Man on PC. I was only streaming that earlier on. That game is fun. It's well written. The characters work. Like, AAA games don't always have to immediately be a disaster. They can be polished and well made. But it's just the mindset that people have now. Pre-orders. Pre-orders shouldn't be a thing. Yeah. The last time I pre-ordered a game was for the Evil Dead game. And I only pre-ordered that because I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, and I will throw money at anything related to Evil Dead. Yeah, I know you got it for free, but I mean, like, I paid all the money for it. And even then, I still had issues getting all the content. I'm still waiting on a T-shirt to come to me that I need to email them about. After a year of waiting, I finally got a fucking DLC code. Like, it has its issues, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And that's why I never wanted fucking, but again, it's the only reason why is because I was so attached to that thing. Like, I never look and I go, oh, I can't wait to get the collector's edition of this or that. And my entire life, I think, like, between the Evil Dead, Metal Gear Solid 5, because I'm a huge Metal Gear fanboy, I bought the collector's of that. The only other one that I've bought for, and I have still yet to get it, I was a $60 backer for Bloodstained for Iga, who, when he left Castlevania, Capcom and Castlevania, he went on and made his own game. I have still not yet played that game. I'm refusing to play it until I finally get my physical copy of the game. And I have been, when did that game actually get announced? I need to just Google it. Hold on, sorry.
No worries.
Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. It was at the time, it was the biggest backer. It was crowdfunded in 2015.
Jesus.
I put in money for that game in 2015, 2016. €60. It received a sequel.
What the fuck?
What?
Wow. The true horror of gaming is truly being a gamer.
Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 is platform purchased by Inti Creates. It was created for the...
Oh, wow.
It was released for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Windows, Xbox One in 2020. It is the third game of this, and is a direct sequel to Curse of the Moon, itself a spin-off of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
So it's on its third iteration.
The game's graphics and gameplay are done in an 8-bit retro style meant to mimic their... Okay, so it's a sequel to the spin-off game, Curse of the Moon. Okay, I thought it was like a full-on fucking... Okay, sorry. Okay, I realized now. Sorry, it says Curse of the Moon 2.
Just now.
Dude, it says Curse of the Moon and Curse of the Moon 2. They were stretch goals, like a little retro stuff. That's okay. I thought it was like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night 2. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was about to fuck. The pre-ordering is the true horror. I don't think I can add anything else.
No, it really is, because like what was that game that was announced like 2 years ago that was crowdfunded, had like $1 million, and then they backed out last second and didn't refund anybody any of the money. I forgot what it was.
I don't know. There's a lot of that happened though.
Yeah. It was
I don't know.
It was like one of the ones that was actually like covered by Game Informer, but I digress. Like last time that I was actually really excited about pre-ordering a game was Assassin's Creed 3. And that was, Xbox 360. I was a teenager. I was 17 at the time. So it was like, after that, I'm just like, I'll wait until after a couple months now, because I know it's going to have either visual problems, graphic problems, or the game's just going to be a huge steaming pile. Because I got Cyberpunk on sale last year.
Pre-orders? I've only pre-ordered 3 games in my entire life. Halo 2, BioShock 2, and BioShock Infinite.
That's fair. Those are good games.
Those are the only ones I've ever pre-ordered.
Yeah.
I'm currently on the Kickstarter page. Sorry to cut you off there for Ritual of the Night. Last update was the 22nd of March, and they're advertising a casual stream with Iga. I went to the comments, and it's like, where's my physical copy, you lying pricks? Where's my physical copy? Still no physical copy. It's been several years. I'm still waiting for my physical copy. Someone says, the plan has always been to complete the stretch goals before making the PC physical version of the game. I'm like, What's the update on that then, for fuck's sake?
So what you're telling me is that I have to wait for this one hump to happen and then I get my physical copy. So when is this one hump supposed to happen?
Hold on. Finally, from Bloodstain's Discord, sorry guys, I'm really hijacking this. They're going to have a closed beta for the upcoming versus modes. Since these include multiplayer films, at first for Bloodstain, we won't have more real testing. There's a sign up. With all announcements, please worry scams. Bruh.
Poor Irish.
They're still talking about doing content as part of stretch goals. Like, it was the biggest fucking Kickstarter I know, but at the same fucking time, my dudes, like, when it's nearly been 10 years.
Yeah. You know, honestly, honestly, one game that I wish would have a resurgence is Friday the 13th. That was that game. I had so much fun playing that game on console.
I never played it. I heard mixed things about it. I heard it was fine though. It's like hearing about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I hear it's like well balanced.
Oh, I'm definitely getting that. Myself and Mary cannot wait to tag team, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And Friday the 13th is an interesting mix. It was a game that's a lot of fun. You can still play it. I've played it as a group of friends with other Irish streamers. The game is inherently broken. It's been abandoned by the developers because of legal issues. So hackers have gotten in and taken over. But it's kind of just like insanity. Like, no one's hacking to instantly kill everybody in Superman. But like, you have like a hatted Jason who just kept levitating through the sky and was playing a lot of polka music while chasing me down at one point. So you just hear like like a big fucking accordion going in the background as well, like getting closer and closer and closer. And then someone else would scream.
That's terrifying, actually.
Like, that was its own version of terrifying. But like,
that's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah. So like, you get some people that are like shitty, then you get the people that are actually pretty
enjoying
cool.
it.
Yeah. When because I got I didn't pre-order that game. I bought it the day it came out though, because they're like the only thing you got for the pre-order was, I think,
I'm tired of pre-orders and like the incentive to pre-order, and then like, you know, a few months down the line they release it as like buyable content.
Yeah, they did that with Jedi Fallen Order. Because when you pre-ordered the game, you got a lightsaber crystal color that wasn't accessible to anybody else in the game. And it was orange. If you pre-ordered the game, you got orange as the color. But now, if I go in my living room and load it up, I can change my color to red, orange, blue, purple, white, green, any of them. And it's like, what was the purpose of pre-ordering this then?
Yeah, I don't see it anymore. The other thing is there's a lot of things with like gaming mechanics we can keep going on that one.
Yeah, honestly,
that's more of the industry though.
Yeah, but I really wish that honestly Friday the 13th would have had a little bit more win in its sales, because it was fun to play, especially if you had a group of friends. Because even if you had a group of randoms, I loaded up into a game where I was playing as a survivor, and we got the car to work and we were trying to run away. And what happened while I was driving the car was that the fourth guy was calling the police and he was going to escape the other way. And as I'm driving the car, Jason popped up in front of me and started walking towards the car to disable it. So I just backed up. He then teleports behind me. And this went on for 15 minutes. He went in front of me, behind me, in front of me, behind me. And the way that I won was I found out that Jason can't disable the car if you drive backwards. So I drove backwards to the police the entire way with Jason just like chasing me down. And the one dude was like, oh my God, he's actually going to do it. He's like, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen in this game. And I'm just driving backwards, just having a blast. And it was so much fun. It really was. The new Evil Dead game is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, I need to get back to playing that game. When it released, it was basically the game was full hot mic, which wasn't great if you're trying to stream. Because like if I'm trying to talk to you guys, like not all my teammates don't need like my constant tirade of voice, and vice versa. I don't need someone potentially about to spout off something.
The first time I played it, we had one random, and that dude was just instantly racist. It was so bad. I was like, I'm happy I'm not streaming this because he
gotta love hot mic, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I haven't come back to it yet, even though I like, paid all this goddamn money for it,
I paid so much money for this, but I'm gonna wait.
You can turn audio off in general for them, right? You can turn off like mic in general.
Kind of, but you also need audio to actually, play and hear the fucking game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But if you have like a group of friends, you don't really need to worry about that because the fourth person is the demon. So you don't really have to worry about it now. Whereas like in the beginning of the game when it was still kind of small and niche, it was a lot worse. Because that's actually when I got it for free because it was funny. I watched this happen on Epic. I was like, oh, I might get the Evil Dead game. It's like $30. The week after I thought that, because this was a week after release that I had seen it for $30 on Epic. I was like, okay, I might pick it up. A week later, it was free. I was like, oh, yoink. I was like, well, sorry to anybody that pre-ordered this, I guess.
Well, again, I don't mind that I pre-ordered Evil Dead because, again, like it's one of these things where like I am a huge fan of it, and like Bruce was involved, so that's good enough. It's not just some cash cow on the name. So I was, relatively
invested.
Yeah, but at the same time, I was like, I want to get back into it after I double check that gets out of the way,
Yeah, because it was so bad. It was so bad. You have like one kid in there that, hey guys, I found this, and you're like, we're on the complete other side of the map.
Call of Duty lobby.
Yeah,
average 2008 Call of Duty lobby.
Hey, so I'm again going back to Bloodstained because I've had this up in the tab while I've been chatting. No, just to give you an idea of just how bad this is.
Right.
So from his post, so Iga himself posted this on 22nd of March. It's time to fulfill the promise from 8 years ago. I will be having dinner and streaming with some of the backers who backed the Iga Adventure Rewards tier. Dude, like one of the tiers that you could have gotten at the time was that you'd actually get to have dinner with Iga and hang out with him and so on so forth. And I'm going to remind you of like how much that was. Let me find it here.
Jeez.
Loads of people paid for some of these. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure
it was 10,000.
Jesus Christ.
You join Iga on adventure in Japan. You get a custom ring forged and made by him, a blood-stained glass window, an ancestral bloodline in-game portrait, and you get everything else included in the $750 dollar version. Eat, stream, and be scary with Koji Igarashi in Japan. Could you imagine paying 10,000 and then waiting 8 years for that to be back?
Or to fucking profit off of that? Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have gotten a lawyer so fast. And be like, listen, I'm not trying to sue him for money. I want my dinner.
Yeah.
Oh, even that's insane.
Yeah. So that per person paid 10K. I paid €60 and I've almost been waiting 10 years for a physical copy of the game that I fucking paid for.
That is so rough. Well, I mean, 2015, we still had the CD scan. We still had the CD scanners and physical copies of computer games. And friggin' 2015. What did I think about it?
Yeah, just they weren't as prominent because it was all going to fucking digital more than anything.
Yeah,
but that's another thing too. Is like I understand digital being the same thing as like a physical copy, but without the physical copy, obviously. Mm-hmm. But they should not be as expensive as a full price game if you're digitally downloading it. I swear.
Yeah.
I hate.
I hate that.
Sorry, the thing I fucking hate is that when I pre-ordered Evil Dead, they sent me out a physical game box, no CD inside. I'm like, why did you do that? Because it's not digital. I'm like, why would you make one of your tier rewards a physical copy for the game if you don't include the disc in it?
What am I supposed to do? Just print out a screenshot from the game, put it in there?
I'm like hardly gonna go fucking buy the game again in physical form to get a. I was like, absolute fucking ridiculous practice that has happened several times now.
That actually happened to me with Assassin's Creed 3, because the day that I pre-ordered the game, I got the metal box that you got. I still have it somewhere. I got the metal box version of the game case. The day I pre-ordered it, it was supposed to come out 6 months later. So I'm like, I look at the game box. I look at the guy at GameStop, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? He's like, oh, you put your game disc in there. I was like, I'm pre-ordering it. He goes, yeah, I know, but everybody that pre-orders it gets one. I'm like, so wait, am I just going to get a disc on the day that this comes out? He's like, no, you'll get a game box with the game in it. I was like, 6 months from now. He was like, yeah. I was like,
makes no sense.
Huh?
Yeah, it's a fucking stupid practice.
It's so,
which is why,
there he is.
Which is why, to wrap back around to everything, that's why reputation is everything for certain developers. And there's one game studio that, in my opinion, has never once failed on delivering a good game. Remedy.
Fair.
They made Max Payne. They made Alan Wake. They made Quantum Leap. They made Control. Man, every single one of their games, in my opinion, really, really good. Great story, flawless. You can trust them. They have quality DLC that isn't like a cash grab or get a character pack or emotes. No, it actually builds up onto the world of whatever you've been playing.
And on top of that, they don't do like a day one patch and an apology.
No. Their games run, they work, which is why I'm so happy that Alan Wake 2 is coming. But that, no, again, I'm okay. I don't know. I'd immediately go back on my promise not to pre-order. It'd have to be something worthwhile that isn't just like some fucking skins.
Yeah.
But I would feel safe pre-ordering a game with them because I know that they have at least delivered on their
promise
previous games, I don't feel that with any other games. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, yeah, it was fucking great, but let's be real, Rockstar want as much fucking money as they could possibly get out of everything. Look at what's happening with GTA 5.
You can't even function in GTA 5 now without buying one of their many shark cards to be able to buy anything. And even if you buy their $100 shark cards, you still can't afford to buy the big vehicle that you want, because it'll be like a couple $1 million. And I'm like, the game economy.
The pricing is ridiculous. You can't earn anything. It's completely shit, which is why I thought Red Dead would be quite fun. Except, no, you're earning money as you would realistically at the start of the 1900s or the end of the 1800s, but you're having modern day prices attached to many of the things.
I think one hat was like $150.
Yeah, it's like, this gun is worth $500. I'm making 25 cents a day.
I can afford that in 3 years.
Yeah,
if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I like that honestly, that is the worst practice ever, is that it's not the scalping of certain things, it's the scalping in game, like what friggin' Rockstar does.
If you want to talk about like scalping in games too, I mean, you got all your sports games for one with all the stuff you can buy, and then you also have like your Fortnites and stuff where it's like behind battle passes and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The best battle pass that I've ever come across, Sea of Thieves. You get a load of content for every store. You get some exclusive skins and stuff like that if you choose to buy it. But instead, it's like actually rewards you for playing the game. You're not really missing out on anything. It's a complete opt-in system. You don't just get like, oh, here's 5 gold, then 5 gold, then 5 gold, then 5 gold. Then you get a hat, then 5 gold. It's like everything you get in it is something that you would use in some way in the game. It's just,
I actually got an entire new ship skin for just watching a streamer that was featured on Sea of Thieves. I got something for my hull, my cannons, my masts, my sails, everything. I was like, oh, this is cool for just watching an hour of someone else's stream. I was like, if more games did this, I would be interested in more games, especially if they're from AAA and bigger studios.
Yep. That's it. So like, I think Sea of Thieves has got like that kind of better sense of what's going on or past.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean,
on top of that, their battle pass
has the emotes and stuff like that where I'm just, I got to get that. That looks cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
What was it? Fortnite started doing that with the anime skins because they did it with Dragon Ball Z, then Naruto, and then My Hero.
How much I spent on that fucking game?
That was. I thought
cosmetics are a way to. They are very getchy because there are so much like, I really like that. I need that, and I hate it.
I want to ask you
back to you guys are how much do you like Gears 2 and Gears 3? Do you guys like religiously play online?
I didn't play too much, but I played a good chunk. 3, I definitely played more of.
I played a lot more of 3 than I did 2.
It reminds me back of the day where like Gears, you had to pay like $1 to $2 for like your Lancer or any other gun to have like the visual effect, moving effects or something like that. It really throws it back into those styles. And I remember them getting everybody back then.
Yeah. I remember that.
But I mean, like, at the same time, that was very much microtransactions in its infancy.
Yeah.
Like you were playing a full, complete game. Like you weren't getting like half the game and then the half sold to you later on.
No, that's also
it's like you were playing the entirety of Gears of War 3. I was like, oh, by the way, you're playing online and you technically seem to love the Retro Lancer an awful lot. I'm like, yeah, I do. It's like, do you want to buy a skin for it? I'm like, well, it is my main gun and I play an awful lot online and the skin is like, I get it in a pack. So I get one skin and several others for like €3. I was like, yeah, okay, sure, fuck it, why not? But like, how could we know back then at the time,
that was going to start what it is now.
That was,
oh my God.
That's
why I always shit on the fucking sports games because that's all they are.
Yeah.
And people pay the money for it. That's the insane part to me.
I have a friend. He's one of my best friends. His name is Steven, and he was a sports game nut. He played the shit out of FIFA. He played the shit out of Madden, and every time what he would do in that game was he wouldn't spend any of the actual money because apparently what they do is they give you gems and then you use those gems to buy packs. Well, what you would do
a lot of games do that too. It's like an in-game resource and you can buy more of in-game resource. Destiny's guilty of it. By Daylight's guilty of it. Apex I think is guilty of it.
Like, but what he would do is he would just play the game online just to earn those gems.
Yeah.
What new horror games are you guys looking forward to coming out? As I know there's a remaster of System Shock. I know I never played System Shock, but that seems quite interesting to me.
The other one I'm excited but dreading is Silent Hill 2 remake. 100%.
Yeah, I never got the chance because again I was too young at the time to ever get into the Silent Hill series. So I'd love an opportunity to play through them on PC.
I have insane high hopes for that game, but I'm also terrified because I don't like how James looks. I don't like how it's not fixed camera angles. It's very like Resident Evil over the shoulder, Gears of War third person, and I'm a little nervous for it now. I'm really looking forward to it because Silent Hill 2 is like probably the best one in the entire franchise. Like James is such a fantastic character, but I'm scared. I am 100% scared for it because it's not going to be.
Oh wait, sorry. The System Shock remake is actually already out.
Yeah,
Came out about a week ago. Oops.
Very recent.
My answer was going to be what I said earlier about the vampire game. But another one, honestly, is this new one called Amnesia: The Bunker.
Yeah, it seems like Amnesia, but you can fight back.
Yeah.
And then
kind of interests me a bit more.
Oh, there's this game that I played a what's it called? It's like a tester. It's like a tester demo, I guess you could say, of it. I got accepted to play this tester demo. It's called the Gray Hill Incident, where it basically is you arrive at a house to investigate a crime that happened, and then it turns out to be aliens, and then you fight back against the aliens, and it's like a whole hide and seek style horror type game with a little bit of defense mixed in. I'm kind of excited for that one, and then the vampire.
I just googled game. There, dude. Like it's full on aliens as like little green men in the black jumpsuits.
Yeah.
Oh man, that
it looks great. It was called something else, and I can't remember what it was. I'll look through my games to find it.
Gray Hill Incident. Yeah, it looks like you can shoot them, but can you actually kill them? Oh no, one fell over. Okay.
Let's see, where is it? Oh, one fell over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that's what I mean. Like, so some of these actually seem interesting because I don't like. Apart from that, I can't really think of any other big horror games that are coming up that are making me really
Redfall
interested. Like,
I don't know why I had that on there.
I saw a trailer there for something called Unfollow, which seems kind of cool. It's like surreal horror, but then again, it could be, you know, the walking simulator with jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
It's always hard to know.
I lied. The game that I played was called They Are Here: Alien Abduction, and it's supposed to release next year. That's the one that I played. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's considered horror. I mean, it's got like action horror vibes to me. I'm looking forward to Remnant 2.
That'll be good.
So which one? Sorry,
Remnant 2.
Remnant.
Did you ever play Remnant? Ashes? Was it like Ashes of the what?
Oh yeah, Remnant 2.
Oh no, I know of it, but no, I've never actually played it.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. I'm really looking forward to that.
Me and Miz beat the game together one time.
Yeah, Remnant from the Ashes is such a fun game. It's so much fun.
One that I'm looking forward to now that I just remembered is My Friendly Neighborhood. And the whole thing is that
like a continuation of a Hello Neighbor?
No. It's basically you go into it's a puppet, like a Muppets show kind of thing. Saturday morning, you play as a repairman sent in, and you get attacked by a load of killer puppets and Muppets.
That's funny.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the game in a while. I don't know if it's going to be good or if it's going to be, you know, falling into the whole Poppy's Playtime kind of deal, or if it's going to be like actually leaning into the whole fact that, like, you know, puppets can be creepy, the whole smiley.
So I found that game that I was telling you guys about. It's called Bloody Hell Hotel.
Bloody Hell Hotel. Okay.
And then let's see, what was another one that I was looking at? Oh yeah, I forgot they re-released Monkey Island.
Oh, God.
Point and click adventure games, I absolutely love that. That's why fucking Monkey Island. What was another one? The old like older Oddworlds really felt that way in some sense, not point and click, but that like 2D platformer in a way. Metroidvania feel. I miss those. And actually generally being terrified of those sometimes too, especially with some of the enemies that would come up ahead.
Fair. There was another game that I was looking for that I would love to play with you guys at some point, but I can't seem to find it. It was a horror game, but it was a multiplayer horror game, and I cannot friggin' find it. Thought I
got a fucking re-release. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other games that are coming out or anything that really
stand out to you,
excites me, but nothing's really coming to mind. which is a bit of a shame, as it feels like I'm kind of just waiting around for the next big indie dev horror game to come out that isn't just another reskin of whatever's popular at the moment. Which is why I really love that whole surreal retro FPS PS1 style graphic games, because they could either be a walking simulator with something creepy, they could be like an actual
like that one game
that's a throwback to
you
a
played
game.
not too long ago.
Which one?
Was it? The one where you play as the girl in the insane asylum.
Oh, Frambo.
Yeah, Frambo. Like I like that. I do.
That's a point and click kind of thing, but it's like that surrealism.
I really love that game.
To be honest, like horror isn't really in a bad place, because I think most people realize now that to make a AAA game that's actually going to be good and functioning is like across the board difficult, and people are untrustworthy. So people are more than willing to experiment with game devs themselves, smaller teams coming out. Are you guys familiar with the Doom mod My House?
Yes.
No.
So only recently released. It was kind of like an ARG. It was basically a map made for GZ Doom, which is just a new engine for playing the original classic Doom on. And the whole thing is that some guy makes a post claiming that his friend passed away and was making a map based on his house, and he decided he'd finish it off and upload it. But then you start to play it, and it's surreal. It's completely impossible. Like, you start to realize that certain things, if you know Doom, can't be done. Like, there's an upstairs and a downstairs directly on top of one another. The Doom engine has never been it's never been possible to have an upstairs and a downstairs. Doom cannot have two levels of something. So they've always just done textures that wrap around, or like tricks in the architecture of the engine to make it look like, like when you're going down a set of stairs and you keep moving in a big circular clockwise motion. Yeah, right. Eventually you'd have to have the stairs wrap around on top of you. That never happens because it's all tricks in the engine to make you think that that's what's
happening,
going on, but it isn't. But apparently some fucker figured out how to use non-Eleusidian geometry to make impossible spaces. Are you guys even familiar with non-Eleusidian? Right, so the idea is that there's a video, I'll send you this after podcast, but if you're standing in a tunnel and you look, it's a really long tunnel if you look at it from the left or the right, but when your character stands squarely at the front of it, this tunnel might only be like 2 steps, whereas if you look from the left to the right, it's about 10 paces. So the whole idea is that you're creating space within space.
Okay.
It's like a whole Doctor Who TARDIS. I genuinely do not understand how it works. Like, there's another one. The idea is that you walk into a tunnel and you're going down, but when you get to the end of the tunnel, you're now at the top of the hill. And when you go into the tunnel, and if you could do the reverse, you start going up. But it's, it's
I like
completely
interesting.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre way to do it. So you have this entire Doom map with monsters, with all these hidden items and secret endings and impossible geometry and surrealism. Like, someone went and made this surreal horror experience with ARG things. If you look at the other files that were posted by this guy, in a fucking 20-year-old FPS horror game.
Well, if we're talking
and I think,
it came out in 92. It's a 30-year-old game.
Sorry, 92. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Like,
thanks for reminding me my birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I think the fact that that a game like that is still being used to get those experiences across.
It really is.
I think that says an awful lot about. I think that's a really interesting thing, and I'm happy that that's around.
Yeah. Honestly, I like it when people revisit older games and they either like they make a mod that makes it better, or they just do something that like kind of resparks like, hey, I found this secret that no one that no one found after I played this game for like 700 hours.
Yeah.
I like that aspect.
30 years.
Yeah. And horror games don't get enough attention for that type of stuff, sadly.
That's it. I think it became too saturated with too many jump scare games.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping
Jump
that
scares
trend's
are easy. That's the thing. Like
Yeah, I
jump
know.
scares are easy. They work. I mean, horror movies are also unfortunately guilty of that troping too much.
This is why I fucking hate the Five Nights at Freddy series.
Yeah,
Like,
fair.
I never found them scary, but all it ever fucking was.
Actually enjoyed Security Breach.
Mm-hmm. They were definitely.
I haven't played that
jump
one.
scares.
Like, now Mary is a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan, so at some point you guys are probably going to see me streaming that. I will get dragged into that by her.
Only ones I played of that were the ones on the PlayStation VR. I think it was Help Wanted. And I really enjoyed it that way because it's actually more terrifying in 3D or like VR and everything. But
well, when I finally get my own space, I might finally get a VR headset and go back and experience certain games and actually, be scared for once.
I'm highly recommending Resident Evil 7. Honestly, it is so much fun in VR.
I refuse to play that game in VR after the last time that I did, because I somehow managed to get my PlayStation to play to my VR headset. I only did it the one time, and I was like, you know what? Resident Evil was scary, but it wasn't that scary. I played 15 minutes of it and just undid everything that I had just set up with that friggin' headset. I was like, nope.
You would think you get used to it later on, but no, it doesn't get better.
It gets worse. It gets so much worse.
See, that's it. I'm kind of hoping to have that experience because, again, I don't want to sound like I'm this ultimate cool badass.
Yeah, you're cool. You're edgy.
Yeah, I know.
Sweet.
No, but like,
go put on your mascara, fool.
Okay. I'm gonna paint my nails black after this podcast. How could you tell? No, is that I genuinely am not scared by horror games, which is kind of bad when you're a streamer because you're not reacting.
Yeah.
And I've had people watch me play I've had people watch me play all of Outlast 1 and all of Outlast 2. And I don't react to a single jump scare or anything frightening or startling.
I never played Outlast. I think my experience from you and Outlast are different is because I played in VR as well. So
yeah, that's what I mean. So I'm hoping VR is that kick that I need because like nothing frightens me, which really, but that has really allowed me though to get into games that have a real sense of tension and atmosphere and story driven. Like, I can pick out on those ones that actually.
I'm pretty sure there are games that have scares you just don't remember, for one. And number two, I feel like if it's based off more modern ones, I feel like there's parts of more modern ones that are scary, but like as a whole, they aren't.
Honestly, the scariest game that I have played in VR, hands down, aside from Resident Evil 7, was Phasmophobia. But that was because like my first 10 seconds in the house, the ghost spawned in my face and I dropped to the floor. I said,
VR doesn't help that a lot, but just in general, there are terrifying games, or even just like, I guess for me, I get like Dead by Daylight still gives me like adrenaline spikes and so on and so forth. Yeah. And those jump scares, I feel like I still can count that one in there. I enjoy it because especially like when you have a good team going, or like when all of us get together and play together. If it's like all of us like playing KYF, I feel like it's not as terrifying because we're all just shooting the shit and mocking each other.
Irish still scares the shit out of me, especially if he's the killer, because like he'll pick Ghostface and just be standing behind me.
He'll be fucking Nemi. What are you talking about? It's Nemi or Wesker.
I'm a Wesker main. Well, I go back and forth between Wesker and Huntress, but like sometimes you just got to mess with everybody.
Yeah, like the one time that I played against him as Ghostface, he was standing behind me, stacking up his ability the entire time I was fixing a generator, and everyone was like, "Has anyone seen Irish?" And I'm like, "No." And I pan my camera around. He's just standing behind me, and all I hear is I'm like, hi, Irish. He's like, hello.
Yeah. So for anyone very briefly, so for Dead by Daylight, if you play as Michael Myers, one of the killers, licensed killers you can buy, he levels up his ability by stalking someone, which basically means like just stand somewhere, keep the person in view, and then hold down your right mouse button. And Jimmy was on the generator completely unaware. And so I was just like, okay, just standing behind him, staring at him. And my evil meter, like,
skyrockets.
Skyrockets fills up. And I was like, I haven't seen him. You see? I was just like, maybe.
All of us are freaking out. Like, where the fuck is he? Dude, who does he see? Everyone's like,
it's like the music went off. He's leveled up. And I'm just like, how does he not notice the fact that I'm like behind him? He should hear the music or the terror.
I didn't hear any of it. I just was like, I just remember someone asked me, I don't remember who it was. They're like, has anyone seen Irish? And I'm like, no. And my camera just slowly panned and I look behind me and I just see him just standing there. Like, I just picture him just standing with his arms out like this, just going in my head. And all I hear is, hi, Irish. And I'm like, found him.
Yeah. But that's it. Like, other people can make or break your experience. Like the Outlast trials, I find them a bit more enjoyable than 1 and 2 because you have the ability to quote unquote fight back.
I have heard things like, you can either like hide or like throw things at them or something like that.
I think I saw one where a guy picked up like a 2x4 and smacked one of the guys with it or something.
Not that I'm aware of. Must have been a trailer. But you get like these different types of rigs. So like one of them is like a gas cloud to, if they're chasing you and they hit a trip mine, it's a smoke screen. One of them is your typical restore your health. The other one's like X-ray vision. But the other one, or the one that I've spec'd into, is it's basically like a thing you throw them and it stuns them. So like you can't kill them or get rid of them, but you can do that. At the same time, you can throw a bottle to distract them. You can distract them with a brick, but a brick you can also like momentarily stun them with as well. So there's like finally a level of fighting back while also still doing
while still being chased. Yeah, that's fair.
I'm gonna pick up that game because if it's coming highly recommended from you, then I have to check it out.
And as you all know, my word is law because I am the video game man who knows the best about all horror games.
No, there's
right.
Here's
get scared.
Here's the funny thing that when it comes
to not scared about games, Miz, then you can tell me what to play.
here's something really funny. I follow this to the T. If Miz says something about a movie or a game, I listen because a lot of times Miz does not have favorable opinions about new movies or video games.
I'm usually the shitter. You can ask anyone that knows me. I'm usually the one that shits on everything, and I go to my like extreme lengths of saying how much I dislike something.
And so really what Jimmy is trying to get across is that if Miz says a movie is bad, chances are, dear viewer, you're going to enjoy it.
No, not even then, because like I watched something out of curiosity because this was like after the second or third episode of this podcast, and Miz said something about a movie that was bad, and I was like, I haven't seen that one, so I went and found it online. I watched like the first 10 minutes of it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is shit. And I was like, Miz was right. I don't remember which one it was.
There's a lot of movies I shit on, especially in the horror world.
And then one thing I've noticed is that when both of you say that a game is good, I'm like, oh, this game must be really good. I'm probably gonna like it. I go and play it. I'm like, they were right. This game is good. I do like it.
I thought you were going to say they were wrong. This game is really bad.
It's garbage.
You like this? This is garbage.
Which one of you recommended Doki Doki Literature Club?
I've only heard things about that. I've never played it. I don't even know what it is. All I know is like a fucking romance.
It's like a visual novel thing.
Yeah, I can't do it.
It's a visual novel, but it's not really a visual novel. I recommend
if you want a good viewing of it, watch the Game Grumps playthrough of it. It's actually pretty funny.
I have never seen a single episode of those.
When the first time you and I met, your voice sounded almost like Dan's did on the Game Grumps.
You're like the second person to tell me that. I have no idea who that is, but that I don't.
He's one of the guys on it. He's also a musician.
Yeah, he's the lead singer for Ninja Sex Party, and that's the name of the band.
I know that band.
It's a great band.
Yeah,
it's a band, all right.
it's a band, and they also have another band where Aaron, the other host of Game Grumps, is a part of it, and Starbomb. They make songs about video games. It's like I enjoy both NSP and Starbomb in different respects. But if you want to know anything about a horror game, new, old, and different, watch the Game Grumps, because they played what was it? Silent Hill Shattered Memory.
Oh my god, that one's so bad.
And they fucked up so bad that they actually made me want to replay the game, because I do remember certain aspects of it being pretty funny.
So I absolutely love the Silent Hill franchise, but however, like the last good one, and it barely passes as good, is Homecoming. But I have such a unique bond with that game, so that's for me to say.
Is that the one where he plays the prisoner Murphy?
No, that's Downpour.
Oh, okay.
Downpour wasn't
the only
bad.
one that I really know anything about.
I hated Downpour.
Because I watched Two Best Friends play at the time, and like a giant meme that went around was that at one point they find a giant hole in the city of town. They try to pick up a fire axe and they immediately fuck it into the giant hole.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no. Silent Hill franchise is touch and miss, especially with more recent ones. I know everyone was excited for PT, and I was like, towards it. I kind of wish it had gotten made out of curiosity. The only reason why I was excited for it was because that was the one that Kojima, Del Toro, and Reedus were supposed to be a part of, right? Was it that one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before.
And that's how we got Death Stranding
later. Yeah,
I was about to say at the same time that's how we got Death Stranding. So like
so as a fan,
I consider it a big. Actually, you know what? I think I'll briefly talk about that because I know it's supposed to be horror and. I don't know if we're winding down soon. Are we winding down soon?
Yeah.
Okay, right. I'll try.
We're going. Holy shit.
We've been going for 2 hours, 40 minutes.
Shit. Okay, I'll try not to make this too long. But basically, people look at that game and they know that you play as a guy who delivers.
I'm still listening.
Stuff. Right back. And people, no problem. People think that it's a walking simulator or A to B. It's not really. I mean, yes, that is definitely part of it, but it is a horror game. It's a traversal game. You have ghosts and monsters that are out there. You have human enemies that you have to sneak and stealth around. And if they capture you, so like, there's a lot more to it. Its story gets into some kind of body horror elements. Like there's vengeful spirits and ghosts.
Yeah, no, I've heard great things about it. I just haven't gotten it yet and dedicated any time to it yet. I just get I really want to, just haven't.
Yeah, that's fine. Get the director's cut because it's out and it's got more content in it as well. Not that Kojima cut stuff out, but it was more just like they went back. What else can we add? Like they added you can do racing now at one point as well. Like you can race some of the vehicles. Yeah.
Interesting.
Like I won't do anything that's too spoilery, but in terms of some of the concepts that it looks at, okay, this isn't really much of a spoiler, but like, there's an idea called the beach, and it is that it is this in between world of where spirits are. Everybody knows that there's like the little baby in the jar that Norman Reedus carries around with him, and that's the big meme. How that actually works is that that's a child spiritually connected to a mother that's now brain dead. So technically the child is now able to tap into the other side to see ghosts and spirits, which is how you can see the enemies in the game, which is why they're necessary. And it's only certain people have the ability, depending on their level of exposure, can see them, feel them, touch them. Reedus is only able to sense them. And it's true that helps. So like you have all these bizarre, surreal systems and things in place to actually navigate through this broken, fractured, fucked up world while also like trying to outlast all these things. The people are also part of the monster. Troy Baker's character is excellent. And I'm really looking forward to whatever. No, he's so good. And he chews up the scenery. He's loving it. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen in the second game. because like I've played through all of the first one. I love it. I genuinely have no idea what the fuck the second one's plot could even be. like I've been talking about this game to how many different people. I recommend it. Like, give it like an hour. Okay, like this cutscenes.
I will give it. If I can get through like some of the games I've played, I mean, if we're talking like prolonged cutscenes, I mean, Kojima's like love for cutscenes in MGS5 is like a prime example of like, hey, I want to play the game.
Yeah.
Well,
like
that's it.
Like the opening cutscene.
Sometimes it's that, sometimes it isn't. But like, for example, like people just keep saying, "Oh, it's a walking simulator, parcel thing." Yes and no. The idea is that people are isolated, and the whole goal of the story is to reconnect people. And every section of the game is broken up into different sections. So, for example, let's say there's a guy further up a mountain. I have to figure out my way of traversing there by myself. So I need to plan equipment. I need to see, do I need to get like a exoskeleton suit to help me carry whatever else I need to get up there? Do I need to avoid monsters? Is there people shooting at me? Do I need to bring a gun? Like blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Finally get there. Proper planning. It's difficult, but after you do enough deliveries or you meet whatever requirements, certain ones are story based, certain ones you need to do stuff, they get brought into this, what we call the chiral network.
Mm-hmm.
You can now see other structures built by other players. So, say you suddenly have to go up this giant mountain and it's a fucking pain in the ass to constantly climb up, and you've been using a load of ladders, or you've been using a load of climbing ropes, or you found this awkward way that gets up there, but you have to go through a load of enemy. Now, someone has just built a load of zip lines that you can now take advantage of because someone else built them. And now that you're connected with another person, maybe you want to add on to their line of zip lines because you have the materials, and now someone else can use that previous player's and yours to it's you get this you get this sense
the blending of worlds.
You're working together, but you never see the people that you're working with. Which is a very weird feeling, but you know that idea of like doing something good for someone else to eventually find.
Yeah.
Or like if you ever been in a coffee shop and you give a bit extra, say, yeah, pay that on for the next person who needs it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of.
Hey, well, wait, you can talk about taking care of your fellow man? What? This is America. We don't do that.
Like, I love how everybody like shat on Kojima when that game came out. I was like, it's a crappy walking simulator. Oh, it doesn't make sense. Or this or like that. I was like, oh, we had a global pandemic and everybody's isolated, staying alone. Nobody wants to talk to another, really connect. And we rely on delivery men to get anything done. Wow.
Norman Reedus was Amazon.
Weird concept.
Right. No, I was honestly, so I have one of my friends, absolutely love that game. Big old fucking nerd. Love him. He recommended that game highly to me, and he says it is fantastic. And it's like I take his word as gold because he was one of the people that told me to like give the new God of War, not Ragnarok, but the like 2018 one.
Yeah,
he's like, just give it a shot. Trust me, it's really good. And I was like, I'm so tired of Norse mythology, blah blah blah. But he's like, no, fucking play it. Trust me, you'll love it. And I ended up loving it a lot. I even cried during that game. So like, if he's really recommending it, and you're really recommending it, I'm definitely gonna have to look into it.
I got it for free when it was on Epic, so I'm probably going to check it out. I don't know if it was a director's cut, but I don't know. I'll definitely give it a shot because
Well, let me put it this way: whether you have the normal version or the director's cut, you're not really missing anything so much as just the director's stuff like adds extra fun things or different buildings. Like one of the things, like they added a racetrack so you can race some of the vehicles around, or Reedus has his own custom personal bike brought into the game as well. So you could play as Norman Reedus driving his bike around a racetrack. They added another thing is like before, like all the buildings are designed to like solve problems, or you can be creative in how you use them.
Right.
If you have the materials. But some of the other ones that were just stupid. Like you can get like a catapult, so you can like launch yourself out of a catapult. It's like you could cross the river with a bridge, or you could use a catapult.
I'm choosing the catapult.
Because Kojima's a fucking lunatic, and I love him.
That's funny. You know that bridge does look very welcoming. However, I have a catapult.
Yep. Yeah.
Like counter argument, catapult.
Like even then, there's some things about the games that he makes that are horror, but also like surreal. Like, because you are, there's a special type of people who are affected by the disease called dooms in the game, and Rios has one level of it. His body's excrement is harmful, or at least is repellent to some of the things. So in one case, you can literally stand there and have all these blood creatures and oil like come up out of the ground, crying, moaning. Right, it's like fucking horrifying to look at.
Right,
you can piss on them, and they will like shriek and run away.
Aha!
There's another thing. Is like that's funny, but then you're like, but it's only like deterring them a little bit. They'll like recoil and then come after you again.
Mm-hmm.
You can use weapons, but they. 1 second.
Bless you.
Shit, excuse me. But they take blood. Blood is your health. You can make a grenade that is literally. You can use a grenade that is literally made of your own blood, because that will like disturb them a lot more than piss will. But
it's
again, that's
like, which path do I choose? Do I choose to pee on them, or do I choose seppuku? What are we doing here?
Yeah. What are you going to do? Bleed on me? So like,
that got bled on.
But the idea is like, if you use up too much blood, obviously you could potentially die, but that has an impact on how fast you can move. So like, there's an actual risk reward horror thing going on. So like, there's just so much about that game that's freaky, surreal. It makes no sense.
I'll give that one a shot.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. But to end things off, I do have one question. I already know my answer to it. What is one trope in a horror game that you'd love to see make more of a comeback, see more prominent in? It could be anything, like style of gameplay, anything like that.
Like favorite horror games, like what we want, like a trope in it.
Yeah.
To come back, that's hard. I mean, because
it can be multiple. For me, honestly, I'll warm you guys up with it. For me, honestly, it is the you remember how in certain old school horror games you had like you had the easy through hard difficulties, and then you had the one difficulty that after you beat it in hard mode where it had permadeath. I would love to see that make a resurgence in horror games.
I would agree, but I've had that in certain games where the game has crashed or the game hasn't run well.
Yeah.
And that's ruined my run. So
yeah,
if there's any AAA games that want to do that, sure, make your fucking game work.
Yeah, Dead Space 2 is one that like pops into my head right away, where you have to beat the entire game with like 2 saves the entire time.
Yeah.
Fucking brutal, dude. That was the hardcore run. I remember that. Like, if you're trying to like what I'm trying to do with Resident Evil 4 right now for the professional mode, like save management is like, that's what I was going to say, is save management for me is one that I would like to see come back, is because I absolutely love the original like Resident Evil or like older PlayStation 1 games and stuff like that, where you had to go to this specific save room to save. There was no checkpoints. There was no like anything else. It's like that save is your fucking lifeblood.
Yeah.
That was fun. Like mandatory saves. I'm so tired of like the checkpoint system and like having to like being baby held. I can just do this as many times as I want. But like with Dark Souls is a prime example, like the bonfires or Elden Ring with the graces and stuff like that. Like that is your only spawn point. Like you can explore as long as you want, do whatever the hell you want, but when you die, that's how far back you're going.
Yeah. I did like Elden Ring for that aspect, because I was like, okay, I have this many runes. If I die right now, I lose all those runes and I have to go back from this point that I last touched to get back to here.
Not only that, but it's like you can like, okay, I have to go this way and go complete another way and just fuck off for however long, and then come back and be like, oh shit, I don't even know my way here back, or get lost. Like I like that almost Metroidvania feel of like backtracking so much, but then there's also too much, like is what happens in Elden Ring at times.
You know, I respect that. I did like that aspect of it, because
like I said, love that save management. That's one of the things I love, because Resident Evil 4 is really throwing me back into that.
Fair. That's fair.
If I had to think, I think a trope that I really like and I think works well for horror is the unreliable narrator. And
Ooh,
I think that's an awful lot of fun. Like, I don't mean something as generic as like, oh, you were playing as the villain the whole time along with Amnesia, you know, like events that happen, or like Rashomon, like you have one person's perspective of events, or you need to get so many different versions to finally piece together the truth. But maybe you can never know what actually was true. You can only just get facts and versions. You never get enough, so your mind has to fill in the blanks. Or, you know, I always found that really interesting. Like, to go back to another game, slight spoiler, I guess, for Alan Wake.
Right.
Like, the whole thing is Alan gets attacked by what's called is just the dark presence, and it forces him to write a novel, and it's basically allowing it to cross over into reality. Alan wakes up with a head injury like a few weeks later, and you find pages throughout the story that kind of either tells you about what's going to happen next, or gives context to certain things or whatever like that. And I found that really interesting. Only that if you go through the game in certain ways, now it's been several years since I played through the full game properly, but if I remember, one of these theories that I remembered or that I taught myself was that Alan is eventually replaced by an evil twin called Mr. Scratch.
Oh, yeah.
One theory was that you actually never play as Alan. Alan has been locked in the cabin writing the entire time, and that you've actually been playing as Scratch, finding pages, but that Alan was actually writing about you playing as him, thinking it was him with pages. It's all these various levels of meta deep, and it's only when you actually play Alan Wake's American Nightmare, the follow-up, that you're actually free. Because there's a guy called Thomas Sane who was a poet in the game, and he had the exact same issue that faced Alan. But some people remember him. Some people don't remember him. He wrote certain works. Certain people say he never did. Zane has technically written himself out of existence, depending on how the novel works. But he's also around for Alan to help. Is he actually real? Did Alan write this character because he needed something to help move the entire thing? Like, everything about that story is so loose and so fluid. And you can take any detail and discuss how many levels of meta you are, or up or down, depending on what is real. I think that makes for a very fun horror story. You know,
I get that. Yeah.
What is truth? What is real? You've played the entire game. Did you just miss what everyone else can see? And it's only in your second playthrough that shit finally starts to click. Like, I love that style of game. I think that's very fun.
The narration and the storytelling of it.
Yeah. I think when narrate, like, you know, good horror games either need to have a good story, an interesting character, good atmosphere, or good design. Like, at least if it has like one of those, you're willing to play on. Yeah. In a great scenario, you get all of them.
Yeah, in a great scenario.
And that's what makes something worth remembering.
And this is something that really irked me on one of the last new horror games that I bought. Everybody was telling me get it. They were like, get Martha is Dead. When I played through it, I've
heard about mixed things about that.
It is so bad because it's not scary at all. Like, I got scared by my sound alerts. I didn't get scared by that game at all. Like, the scenes that were supposed to be scary was not scary. There was a scene in it where like you cut off someone's face, and like it like
that's where I would want to hear like the sound effects, because that's like my favorite thing. I don't know.
Oh, they were terrible. They sounded like someone ripping open like a paper sack. They didn't even sound like visceral. Like, even the sound design was bad.
Because like I'm like, that's where my audiophile goes really crazy, is like sound effects on like body horror and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
that's one of my like Smile, American Werewolf in London, some of my favorite sounds.
Those were good. But yeah, for Martha is Dead, I went and looked at the design, the game publisher and designer, which is the same people. They had made a game back in like 2016, 2015, something like that, and it had all of the same problems that Martha is Dead did. But everyone was like, "How can you not like that game?" I was like, "I didn't like it."
I mean, we get delivered shit so often that when we see something semblance of good, that we think it's great.
Yeah, like everyone was praising it to me, and I come to find out that the people that were recommending it to me were recommending it to me off of Xbox and PlayStation 4, or yeah, Xbox and PlayStation, and they had certain things that were edited out to make it console friendly that I didn't have in the PC version, and I actually just played over by 1 minute the maximum amount of time that you're allowed to play in a game in order to get the refund. I was like, well, this fucking sucks.
It felt like with like Summer of '93 or Summer of '83, whatever that game was called.
56.
Yeah, there it is. 56. It was.
You sound really far away, Miss.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just me.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah.
Okay. Summer of whatever it was, 58 or 56, whatever it was. It's less than 2 hours, and a lot of people played it, enjoyed it, so whatever, and then they refunded it, which kind of killed whatever potential the creator was going to do. But I still have that game. I never refunded it. I only have like an hour and 43 minutes into it. It was done really, really well. For a short story, for like, I think the game was like $7 or something like that. It was. I really enjoyed the atmosphere that it gave me. Very lack of story, but then giving you a lot of story at the same time without it.
Story
really
of 58, is it? Because I just checked on Steam.
It's like summer.
Yeah, it's like summer of 58, 56, something like that.
Summer 58.
Summer camp takes place in Russia.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of it's translated.
Okay.
So
yeah,
some of the things that you see aren't translated over very well. So
yeah, I only have 85 minutes in the game. It's still a really good game. I really enjoyed it. I might. I did too. Because it's a fun Halloween game. It's not a long game whatsoever, but like the jump scares or like the unnerving feeling in some of the spots are really good.
Yeah. They did really well for what little they did really, really well, because it's not a very big game.
Yeah, so it's like 11 gigs.
Yeah, if even. Like
it's visually more terrifying than anything, but like there's just some spots in it that's just done really well. That catches me off guard. And the one playthrough I did do of it, I'm gonna wait for it. Another playthrough on Halloween, because it's been like 2 years since I played it, so I'm really looking forward to going back to it.
It's been like a year. I played it last year after I hit
something. Yeah, October 4th was the last time I played that one. 2021. It's already gonna be 2 years. Holy shit.
Over here to library. I'll go to Summer 58. Yeah, Summer 58. It's like it does so much without doing so much at the same time.
Yeah, it's very minimalistic, but like when it does impact, it does impact. There's some like scripted spots that like you can read right away, but there's some that just like completely are left out of left field for me.
Yeah. Another game like that for me is Tall Poppy.
I have not played that one.
It's pretty fun. Last played for me was September 21st, 2022. I have 3.4 hours in the game. I've played through it twice. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that game. If you've not played it, just be warned. There's going to be jump scares, and they're going to be well timed, and you're going to be mad that they got you if they do get you.
Fair enough.
Because there wasn't really an audio cue to these, like there are with a lot of the other ones, where like you get like that, like an Outlast, when the music changes, you're like, oh shit. Yeah. This one was just like, huh.
Those are the best ones. This one just, it pops out of nowhere.
Yeah, I agree. But I think we're good to end it here if you guys are. We can definitely do this again another time.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it's been 3 hours almost.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Jimmy, thank you both very much for inviting me on. Hopefully my rambling was interesting to both of you, and hopefully to anyone else who's listening as well.
Always.
I appreciate it.
It's always a great time to get with everyone. Trust me.
So from me to everyone out there, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope Irish enjoyed himself. I'd love to have him back.
I hope you guys are willing to have me back after all of this. I mean,
we needed someone that was analytical. Like, I'm more for story and plot. Miz is more for sound design and visuals.
Yeah, I'm a very visual blood and gore person when it comes to most things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, like I said, I'm happy to come back and discuss movies. I remember you mentioned to me about Babadook, and I'm like, let me put this English degree to use. I'm like, this actually is a whole symbolism for grief. It's not actually a horror monster so much as the monster that is grief. And I was like, yeah, okay, for the whole degree, I'm going to use the whole degree.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I didn't even think about that. That blew my mind for a minute. I was like, oh,
still doesn't change my opinion of the movie.
That's fine. But I mean, yeah, I'm happy to bring that level to things if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, we always need someone that's a little bit more analytical than either one of us, because I look, like I said, I look for the plot, I look for the story. Miz listens for the sound and for the overall visuals, and then like the only thing we're missing really is someone that's like analytical with certain things. And I'm like, I know.
Well, there you go. I mean, my sheer iron will allows me to do that, but any horror game.
Oh my god, this man's try hard over here.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up talking absolute bollocks, and I'm gonna let you wrap this up. Thank you both very much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, no problem.
Well, we'll be in touch again. Trust me.
Oh yeah. From myself out there to everyone, much love, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Later, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.